Yeah, man, we are live. It is Thursday night reality check, and I am back tonight, and we are going to have a great show. I've got an awesome special guest tonight, actually my first guest, and it's Pat Stedman. Pat, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, Tony. It's great to be back on here.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. Tonight is Women in the Manosphere, and I think this is a great topic. And the reason why is because I think there's been a phenomenon as of late, which is women coming into men's spaces. And I'll get a little deeper into that and kind of ask you your thoughts. But it seems like women are, I don't want to use the word infiltrating. Well, you could use the word infiltrating or what's another good word? Profiting on the manosphere right now. So I think that's a concern, not to just me, but a lot of other men in this space. Men's spaces are sacred. It is a space where men can talk about their problems. I do find issues sometimes with men getting too personal about their personal problems online. I don't know if that's always a good thing, but I think generalizing about basic dating, relationship, things like that, I think it's important. But I'm curious of why so many women are entering this space and wanting to give their 2 cents. And shortly, too, we're going to bring on 2 female content creators. We're going to bring on Good Mother, Amanda, and we're also going to bring on Minka from Better Biatches. So we're going to get their take on this also and kind of ask them questions. So I think it's going to be fun. Also, I want to welcome everybody from 21 Studios. We are broadcasting on 21 Studios also tonight. So if you don't know me, I'm Tony Bruno. This is Pat Stedman. Also, one big thing is I want everybody to sign up for Pat Stedman's email. It's 3 times a week, Pat. I think it is 3 or 4 times a week.
Yeah, it's about I promise 3 times a week. Sometimes it's like 2, sometimes it's 4, but it's just kind of like I only write inspired work, so I don't have this kind of like you have to, how do I put this? Obviously this is a business, but a lot of people put out emails and it's like everything is just it's there for the sake of being there, and this email list is not that. It's always either one of my really best old emails, which we get 1 of per week, and then it's usually about 2 to 3 fresh ones that I write based on topics that are going on with clients, interactions I've been having on social media, and just even stuff that I've been exploring because I'm constantly exploring this stuff. So I appreciate you saying that, Tony, but I really do put probably my most love into my email list, which you can find at patstedman.com/opt-in. And you also get a copy of my book, The 3 Pillars of Attraction, when you sign up for the list, which is totally free.
Yeah, great emails. It's actually my favorite email that I get. There's a couple others I'll give some mentions to. I love AJ Cortez's email on physical fitness, and also Tanner Guzy has a great email when he does them about basically about style and things like that. So it's kind of cool. But those are probably my top 3. Of course, 21 Studios. I love Anthony Johnson's emails, always savage. But again, I want to thank everybody that's here tonight from 21 Studios. Again, if you don't know me, I'm Tony Bruno. I'm just a dude, contractor. That's what I do. And occasionally I like to talk about different issues that are going on in the Manosphere and other places. So that's what we're doing tonight. But tonight's topic is women in the Manosphere. Also, too, I want to I do some giveaways. I'm going to do a giveaway tonight, and it's Michael Foster's book, It's Good to Be a Man. So all you got to do is check my email in the About section. I'm going to send you this book for free. So It's Good to Be a Man. Great book. I'll have Foster on. In fact, Foster might jump on tonight. I don't know. We'll see. But I'll send you a copy of his book. And I'm going to also throw in some Grondike soap, tactical soap, and a clone stick. So you get a little package tonight. Somebody email me. I'll send it to you. No charge. I don't make any money off this. So
I just got to say, tactical soap is fantastic.
It is.
I'm still using some of the stuff from 21 convention because I got a bunch of them. It's Good to Be a Man is a fantastic book. Michael really did an incredible job with it, and I'm kind of mixed feelings about whether to have Michael on tonight because I'm having. I mean, I hope he comes on
Yeah.
obviously. I'm interviewing him tomorrow, so I want him to like save his juice.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
okay.
I didn't know that. Well, that's awesome.
Um,
Okay, excellent. But so anybody, you can get a free copy of his book. Just send me your info. I don't dox anybody or anything like that. So if you want a copy of his book, send me your email. Email me and send me your address or a PO box or something. Tell me why you want this book, and I'll drop it in the mail to you. That's it. So, but yeah, let's get right into it. Women in the Manosphere. Pat, what I want to do is I'm going to ask you what defines women or a woman in Manosphere or Manosphere production and content. What is your definition?
okay, so I think that there's two, and we're going to talk about these distinctions throughout the course of the show, but I think that there's two very, very distinct phenomena. And the first one, and I think this is the one that people are more irked about, is the women in the Manosphere who are women talking to men about men's issues and talking about, you know, really almost trying to tell men what they should be doing, right? About current situations, about, dating dynamics, etc. And then there's the other one, which is women who are Manosphere adjacent. And so they may be talking about similar issues, but they're speaking only to women.
Mm-hmm.
So they're sort of more in parallel to what's going on in the Manosphere. But they don't necessarily try, they maybe feed on male spaces, but they don't try to necessarily talk to men. And there's obviously some blur over between that. You see some accounts that, like EV Magazine, for instance, is clearly designed for women, but they do stray over into engaging with men. But yeah, so I think those are the two broad differences between them. Um, I would say that the former is where there's a lot more controversy about, because these are like the women who potentially, allegedly, are profiting off of, male problems and maybe distorting the conversation, hijacking the conversation, and much more directly taking over male spaces,
Mm-hmm.
arguably.
Why do you think a woman would want to do that? What intention does she have? Do you think women genuinely want to help men? I mean, this is where I have a personal issue with that. Like, I do kind of like look at somebody kind of with the stink eye and like, all right, what's the real motive? Do
Okay.
you think that, okay, I came up kind of with a theory, like women are basically trying to make up for their transgressions, let's say.
Hmm.
Okay, that's a theory that I have, whether it's genuine or not. So that's kind of a theory that I have. Maybe like I've lived the whole life and now I've got to make everything better. What I did notice too is I think a lot of these women are, would we say, post wall? I guess the wall would be 30. So you know yeah, so that's kind of my thought. Like, are they trying to give back genuinely because they fucked up, or is it something else?
So, like with many things, there's a combination of inputs, but I want to go to like the substrate level first,
Okay.
because it what do women do in general? I mean, what was feminism all about? Women want to be in male spaces. So, I mean, it is natural for women, at least women over the last century. But it is a feature of women generally to want to be around where men are.
Hmm.
Like, you notice that men have an organization. There's at least some woman who's like, why can't women come in here? Like, I
Yeah.
want to come in here. Like, because the men are doing things, they're having a good time, they're shooting the shit, they're smoking cigars, they're drinking. Um, Locker room talk,
Hmm.
maybe. But also, like, that's on the low level, but on the higher level, very often, like, planning things together, strategizing. There's and dealing with maybe in certain male spaces personal issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
It totally changes the entire dynamic. Now, but women want to be in it because they see men having fun and they see men doing things and they want to be part of that energy. And you see this literally everywhere. There is not almost a single area that women have not gotten into that, and if they haven't gotten into it, they're still complaining about not getting into it. Like, for instance, um, I'm a member of an organization. I'm not going to say, but it's a chapter, and there's chapters across the country, and we're maybe the only chapter that is still male only. Now, this is an organization that goes back to the 1700s, and it and they're so pissed that they couldn't come to our branch because we just keep it men only. We are the most successful one in the entire country because there's this je ne sais quoi that guys can't get in general in any other domain that's just men being men. You know, I don't think every man is like this,
Mm-hmm.
but if you have a group of 10 men, it is guaranteed, group of 5 men really, but a group of 10 men guaranteed one of these guys is going to change his behavior around women.
Mm-hmm.
And that in like even just the presence, I'm not even saying it's always even the fault of the woman, but even just the presence of a woman changes the nature of the dynamic because men behave differently. Some men behave differently. Then other men have to behave differently because they're have to behave differently towards that man.
Mm-hmm.
And actually what it does is it breaks down trust within the group of men because now you have a woman there who, you know, there's some sort of unconscious, either some guys are like, fuck this, I don't want to be part of this, or there's some sort of implicit competition over the attention of the woman.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is that women do this in every single organization. And look, I don't blame them for it. Men do have a good time. This is like a funny thing. Like you talk about wives and girlfriends. Like they always get pissed. Like if you have like the guys over on the side and they're talking, they're like, "Oh, what are they talking about? Like, let's go." There's always like a little bit of
It's like guys are watching football. They're all sitting around having a good old time, and now the wife brings in some drinks or something like that, and everybody gets quiet.
yeah,
She
yeah,
drops the stuff off, and then everybody, then it changes. I mean,
yeah,
that's a woman can change the dynamic of a men's conversation in 2 seconds.
yeah,
And it's usually the fault, like you said. I love what you said. It's usually like the one or two guys who like just kind of cave
yeah,
and
yeah.
won't be themselves anymore. But why is that? Why psychologically does that happen?
Well, I mean, because they're betas fundamentally. I mean, if we just want to call a spade,
Yeah.
guys who really care about how women perceive them change their behavior around women.
Mm-hmm.
And today we have obviously a beta epidemic.
Mm-hmm.
So, I hate using these terms, but it really does, like, how else are you going to describe it?
Yeah.
The guys who care the least about women, about a woman's validation, will change their behavior the least. And usually to the extent that they change the behavior, it's usually to, you know, protect themselves against the guy because they can't fully trust that guy anymore because
Mm-hmm.
of how he's acting. And so women coming into the manosphere, it's a natural thing, it's to be expected. And but here's the thing. It's not necessarily entirely bad. And I actually think it's something to be celebrated.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason I say that is not necessarily because it's like having women around is fantastic. Although I'm not a black and white thinker on this kind of stuff, and I do think there is value in hearing female input. No question about it. I mean, if you don't have any female input, there's things that you'll miss, especially when it comes to sexual dynamics and dating dynamics, right?
Let me just pause you real quick. Do you think that input from women that they need is lack of it in their personal life?
Could you rephrase that? What do you mean?
You think the input from women, like on these streams and YouTube and stuff like that, do you think that these guys follow these women because they have lack of personal discussions with women in their own personal life? You see, you understand what I'm saying?
Right. Yes. I think that that's true. I think that the real risk is this, and I think you're going to agree with this, Tony. I personally, like, I'm happy to talk to a female dating coach
Mhm.
to argue about certain things, to press different perspectives. I mean, I'm not anti-woman by any stretch of the imagination, and I'm very sympathetic actually to the female perspective. I think that women have a rough time out there, just like men do. They have different problems, but they, some same, but they have a lot of different problems, but doesn't mean that they're not suffering. So, and I'm very anti this sort of hardcore red pill thing, which I really is just the inverse of feminism. War of the sexes isn't good for the sexes. So just say that, like, I'm happy to have these kind of conversations with women. I think that the alarm bell is that a lot of guys have who are not remotely even there in their masculinity. They are, they are betas, let's put it that way, and they want to listen to what a woman has to say.
Mhm.
Now, to a certain extent, if the woman has high integrity, she maybe can use that to a certain extent to her advantage in the sense of helping the man. And but, you know, fundamentally, I I think a lot of guys get caught up in wanting to be validated by the woman. And while there are not all dating coaches are female dating coaches are predatory, like, for instance, colleague of mine, Taylor Burrows, is fantastic. She's really, like, she's a good person. She really tries to help, and I know she works with women too, but she works with a lot of guys. But a lot of female women who have come into the space are predatory,
Mhm.
and they're predatory financially, and they're predatory emotionally. It's a way for them to get attention. And to your point, I can think of a kind and a negative and a mean way to interpret, the how a lot of these commentators are post-wall. The kind one would be that they've had experience and maybe
Okay.
they've integrated a little bit more masculine energy, so they're a little bit more able to talk about these issues directly, whereas, a 20-year-old woman is not gonna know what the fuck's going on. She's just kind
Mhm.
of, like, out there. The less charitable way of looking at it is that this is a way that they can get a lot of attention from men when, maybe that's reduced a bit in their actual dating experience. And I think with this stuff, you really have to take it on a case by case basis. You have to, and the biggest red flag is when a woman is speaking to a man's victimhood. I think that is really the biggest red flag. Um,
Explain that a little more if you would, like her.
well, if a so all right, so let's broaden out for a second. There's a lot of, like, male predators in the red pill space, manosphere space. I mean, guys who are pretty much just preaching poison, i- playing to guys' victim complex, and not really doing anything to try to improve these guys' lives, just, constantly repeating theory and bullshit over and over again that makes them feel justified in being a fucking loser. I mean, that's just the basic
Mhm.
point about it.
Yeah, in fact, everybody could watch my last 3 roast streams, and you'll see the losers that I, pointed out. Exact same thing. LARPing guys who
Yeah.
really don't live the life that they say they do. So
So there's guys who do that, but in that demographic, a woman doing it is gonna be super successful and she's gonna be able to get a lot of money and a lot of, and even if it's not a lot of money, a ton of attention because th she's pacing this guy's victimhood, but because it's a woman, especially if it's like a halfway decent looking woman, then they're feeling understood by an attractive woman for the first time in their lives.
Mhm.
And they're putty. Now they'll claim that they're not because the surface content is maybe boosting up their ego. But if you look at their behavior, they're total simps, essentially.
Mhm.
So a lot of this has to do with the weakness of men in general in the space. And I think it's difficult for guys who are trying to be constructive. Like, so this is the thing, like, for a certain category of men, it doesn't matter that there's some women around for some conversations, right? It doesn't matter. For this lower category though, of guys who haven't even completed the basics, like, they need to be in a male-only environment with men who are going to call them out on their bullshit. And having a woman come in and speak to those men and kind of emotionally coddle them and take advantage of their weakness, manipulate them, that is, to use something I'm sure Anthony would say, is treasonous, right? It's bullshit. It's not helpful. But at the same time, this is the internet. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? I mean, it was an inevitable thing. And this is what I want to say, because this is really important. So I was saying before how women always go to male spaces if the male spaces are successful.
Mhm.
So one of the things that I've been tracking since I really
Wait, dude, that's a good one. I gotta kind of simmer on that one for a second. If they're successful, that's a really good observation right there. The spaces that are successful, women are attracted to. And they
yes.
want part of it. Okay, yeah, go ahead, man. That's a great observation. I love that.
So I think when we go back and we understand the nature of men and women in general. So for instance, it's a really good book, famous psychologist, Rory Baumeister, I think. He wrote a book, Is There Anything Good About Men? And one of the parts of that book that really just stood out for me so much was talking about men being nature's risks. So for instance, if you look at the bell curve for IQ between men and women, it's the same. Men and women have the same IQ. But if you look at the extremes, there are a lot more super intelligent men than super intelligent women. And so feminists get pissed off about this stuff because they see people in every top category are men. And they say it's sexist. It's not. It's genetics. Men are there are some men who are going to rise to the very, very top because they are designed to be more experimental. What no feminist ever talks about is that there's also, if 90% of the top positions are filled by men, 90% of the bottom are also filled by men.
Mm-hmm.
90% of people in prison are men.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, men, 90% of, when it comes to people with severe retardation, mental retardation, they're men. In an average birth, we say it's 50-50 male or female, right? Boy or girl. It's actually 51% male, 49% female, because by the end of the teenage years, a certain number of men will have died due to genetic issues.
Mm-hmm.
So nature knows this and casts the dice with men. And it makes a lot of sense because a successful man would probably have more children. Successful men could have more children, right? Might have 2 or 3 women, whatever
Mm-hmm.
the social structure. Certainly when you go further back, you can see how that would be a plausible situation. It's not this kind of ridiculous thing that people try to say today, which is that, 10% of the guys get 90%. This is nonsense. But is there a distribution curve that top 10% of guys might have gotten 2 women, right? And then the top 1% would have gotten 4 or 5. You know what I mean? Like there is some sort of scaling thing, and the guys at the very bottom wouldn't get any. And that's happened. So
But that's just like basic natural selection, isn't
It's
it?
basic natural selection, right? So men are nature's experiments. And this applies not only simply to genetics, but it also applies to any kind of social movement. So what happens is, and Jack Donovan's talked about this stuff, I know it's, but people have talked about like tribalism, and you have men who essentially you have like the establishment, let's say. You have an establishment of men, and then they have most of the women because they're kind of like the ones in charge. And then you have a group of men that say, fuck this, I'm out. They go off and they're doing their own thing. And they ultimately, successfully perhaps or not, will end up challenging the establishment if the establishment becomes weak, right? To try to bring this back home, the Manosphere started off as this tiny little thing because the mainstream had so much power. So you had this little group, and it was just men. It was just men who were sort of arguably revolutionary in thinking and sort of challenging a lot of the status quo that was being created in society, challenging feminism. And gradually, these men, as their message, as the communities become more cohesive, I mean, it's broad, but you know what I mean? Like, there is a legitimate culture to this area. And the men that are coming out of it are becoming more successful than the men on the outside of it. And certainly from an idea standpoint, it's having a much broader impact on culture. So what we're seeing now is women gravitating towards it because they are seeing the message, and they're seeing the men making the message, and they're like, maybe these guys are on to something, and I'm going to join them, and I'm going to move over to them because they look like they might be successful, and I want to get that guy.
Let me go back to something you said when you said kind of like we'll talk about like the evolution of the Manosphere, and maybe the evolution of the Manosphere. From this is just my own personal view, is from when I look way back, it was more along the lines of meeting women, that kind of thing. But I think what's the Manosphere has evolved into, and you can agree or disagree with me on this one, but I've said this for a long time, that the entrance ticket to the Manosphere a lot of times is trauma. And I'm relating this to women now because a man that has faced trauma or has been through a horrible breakup or divorce or something like that, something that has affected them drastically, they are an easy mark, easy prey for women, period. So, and I think women do pick up on that. That's kind of I was going back a little earlier what you said.
Yeah. So, I mean, 100% this stuff is going on. So, I mean, just to kind of close up this thought, like, I've been in the Manosphere. I mean, I was in pickup all the way back in 2008, but really like saw it on Twitter as it developed in 2015. And back then, there was not that many women. There was like a handful, and they were kind of oddballs. They were, and that's typical, right? You see, a lot of times you'll see like a group of like, nerds or geeks or something. There'll be a few guys and like maybe like a girl or two, right? Because there's always some girls who are willing to, like, better to be, the girl in this little niche than, to be just one of many in the bigger one. So girls have their own sort of competitive aspect to this, how they, niche down. Some of the if you're a girl and you decide to get into gaming, you're getting a lot of attention. You're a girl, you decide to get into Bitcoin, you're getting like, you're getting a lot of attention. So the point here is that we've seen very, very rapidly. I do think Trump was part of mainstreaming this a bit, kind of pulling some of regular conservative thought into it, because there was some overlap with people like Cernovich, but you really started to see it in like 2019, 2020. It's been like an exponential ride over the last, 8 years. And now I mean, if you look at the Manosphere, I would say that a solid 25 to 30% of what you see come out actually comes from women.
Mm-hmm.
And that is an indication that the movement of the Manosphere is fundamentally successful and is going to ultimately become mainstream culture. We're winning that cultural narrative. And you're seeing it now even with the dating world, where a lot of these single women who are, totally brainwashed, they're having a really hard time finding guys who are willing to deal with their shit. And
Mm-hmm.
what you're going to see happen is, like, they're under this delusion that they're still in, the mainstream, but the mainstream is really fragile. The system is very, very fragile. And you better believe that these girls are going to be running to try to, like, oh, now I'm with it. They're going to be like last on the sinking ship, like jumping off the ship, trying to jump to where culture is going,
Mm-hmm.
because they're only in the mainstream because they're told it's what people are supposed to think. So, to your point about women coming after where there's men with trauma, I do see a lot of that, and I think whenever you have, like, a bunch of men who are out there and they're expressing their pain, there's opportunities for predators to come in and take advantage of it. Um, and certainly to try to get a power advantage over these guys. I do think, though, overall, if I had to summarize it, um, especially from just sort of women who are observing, or the accounts I've seen, is that for the most part, it's women just wanting to go where the energy is. This is where the energy is.
I, I
There's
never,
no energy in the mainstream. I mean, what fucking conversations are they having in Cosmo? They're like talking about how you can, you know, shove a dildo up your ass when you're, and how to not identify as a man or a woman. I mean, it just absolute nonsense. Doesn't relate to women at all anymore. Where are the men? Well, the men are in the manosphere.
Mhm.
That's where the women are going.
Yeah.
But I want to say this last point, because it does bother me. Nothing, and I've called out women on Twitter about this. I'm very happy to have women in the conversation, in the general conversation, because it's an indication, again, of the success of the community. But I don't take kindly to women who are sort of very clearly thirst trapping,
Mhm.
trying to come in and talk about issues with men, and certainly talking about, like, where are the men? Where are the men? Like, fuck off. Like that girl, Shannon Michaela or Shannon Michael or something like that. I don't have any, like, personal gripe with her. She's, I mean, I do overall see these kind of girls as like a net positive. I'd rather have them on our side than not. Don't get me wrong. She was like some Australian, like, former shitlib. Um, she could do all sorts of, like, body contortions. So she's like a, relatively attractive girl, and she can, like, pull her legs behind her head. So, so she's out there. She talks about any kind of issue. It's like guys are like, smash, 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 like button, like, and it does kind of annoy me. And I called her out, like, maybe like a week or two ago, because she's like, why are men the way they are? I'm like, because there's women in men's spaces. Women are always in the men's spaces. That's why men are the way they are.
Mhm.
Um, a lot of like, I have more respect for the women who I think have respect for the idea of what the manosphere was initially created for, and they come into it with, I don't want to say, like, I don't necessarily even go so far as to say deference,
Mhm.
but just a simple, like, hey, I'm new here, like, like, let me listen a little bit, and, like, maybe I can add my perspective as a female, rather than like, hey, things are messed up. What happened to the guys? Like, just like, where the fuck have you been?
Yeah.
Like, anyway.
Yeah, and I usually, when I think if a woman says that, it's kind of reflection on herself, I think is what it is. I think it's kind of the mirror being held up is what it is, you know?
Yeah, 100%. And I also, I mean, I think a lot of women who have come over to the Manosphere, and they admit this themselves. I used to be a feminist, and now I'm a conservative. Okay, but you still act like a feminist. Your views changed, but your behavior towards men, to lecture men, to like need to be there talking about it. I mean, there's a meta thing, and this is what I know Anthony talks about this. He gets pissed about this even more than I do. It is an annoyance because it's like, I'm glad you took the step from like a views perspective. Now you have to observe your behavior, because that's really where things come into play. If you're just talking about it from a views perspective, I mean, this is like guys complaining about what women are doing, but then not looking at themselves and how they facilitate that sort of behavior out of women. So I think the inclination for women to not take attention a bunch of traumatized men want to give them is also very high. And so I give women some credit with that. Like, as long if they're not thirst trapping,
I think a lot of them are thirst trapping and they don't even know it, though. I think that's an issue. I want to bring up a couple content creators that I've really, since I thought about this topic, there's a few people that I've tried to watch. First one is, I guess it's Pearly Things or whatever her name is. And to me, it was unwatchable, unlistenable. It was, I just have no clue why. I just couldn't listen to it, to be honest. It was just, for me, it was absolutely meant nothing. I felt, and I'm just being honest. It was just poor. It was just poor. I didn't get I was looking for some sort of wow factor. Okay, she's got like 1 million subs now. Like, why? And I literally have never watched her before. And so over the past week, and even today, I tried to listen for like a couple minutes. And I forget what some other podcast she was on. I just kind of, and today during work, and I'm like, I can't do this. This is ruining my day. Another one is Torsha, and I don't really get anything about her either. Like zero, like nothing. Like it's over. I have no clue why anybody. I don't even like. I tried. I did my best. I did my due diligence. Another one is Roma Army, which is just.
Oh yeah.
Whether or not she literally like and intentionally tried to come into Manosphere, but I do think that is considered Manosphere content. But that is another one where I just think that with like a woman like that, it's just, again, to me, it's like trying to make up for her past transgressions is what I think. I don't think there's a whole lot of value there. And there is a ton of simps in those chats and streams and comments. Again, that word, I just hate that word, but I don't know any other word that people can relate to. So
yeah, I mean, she looks like a girl you'd like bang in a club bathroom.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, she looks like nobody I'd bang at all.
Yeah.
But to me, it's just like I try to figure out why guys are attracted. And again, I'll go back to what I had said in the beginning is guys who have been traumatized. Like this is now their mommy figure or their faux girlfriend. So that's kind of the way I look at a lot of these type of content creators. And we're going to have two coming on soon. Two women who are content creators. We're going to have Minka from Better Bitches, and also Good Mother's going to come on. So we're going to talk to them. We're going to talk directly to a couple women who create content, and we're going to ask them why they do it and what's their motive. And so that's coming up soon. So everybody stay tuned.
Yeah. So I would say that, so much of this stuff that goes on, though, I do think is somewhat unconscious. I'm not saying that there isn't any conscious aspect to it but I don't usually think of this stuff as like a scheming kind of thing. I mean, super like intelligent women certainly can scheme and know how to use sex appeal and how to position themselves. But I- you know, I do think part of this is just the cost of doing business. Like when you become a successful movement, you are going to get all sorts of people bailing off the other ship. They're going to jump on your side, and a lot of them are going to be mentally unstable, or they're going to be grifters, or, you know, it's men. I think all we can really do is we need to help guys develop their own discernment to be able to see, first off, know themselves well enough to know, are you are you engaging with this person's content just because they're an attractive woman?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I mean, I've seen this on Twitter. Literally, like some account will make a tweet, usually like an anon account or something will make a tweet. And it's a great tweet. And then some girl will take the tweet and then they'll tweet it. And they'll get like 3 or 4 times the likes.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty
And
standard, though. I mean,
it's pretty standard. It's pretty standard. But the point is, that happens because guys are like, there are guys who are more inclined to like a woman's tweet, or to follow some sort of woman saying it than a man. And I think that, like, that self-awareness, like, why are you looking to women for leadership? Like, this is where we get really deep into the substrate layer of how fucked up society is.
mm-hmm.
Why are men looking to women to tell them what to do?
Mm-hmm.
And you realize it's not like the ideas are something like, I'm not saying that they're nothing, but there's a fundamental feminization of men, fundamental core. And, I don't think that you have it in you, Tony, but I mean, I've had to root it out of myself. I've had to see it. And every now and then I'll still see it. I'm like, fuck, where's that? Because it's been hit in us
Mm-hmm.
so much. So, we just have to make guys more aware of how they operate. And I think that's the only way you get through it. And a lot of men are gonna, they're gonna give their money to women. They're gonna, and it's not all gonna be bad. It's not all
Mm-hmm.
gonna be bad, but because I do think that there's a lot of really well-meaning women. A lot of women come into this space. Maybe there's the unconscious element. Okay, this is where the energy is. They want to get into the conversation, but it doesn't mean that they're bad intentioned, and it doesn't mean that what they contribute is a net negative. I mean, you can make an argument. You can make an argument. I don't think it's necessarily a poor argument. That is it better as a stepping stone for a bunch of simps to listen to a woman tell them to stop being a pussy than it is for a bunch of guys to not listen to anybody say it because they won't listen to a guy say it. I mean, I don't like this, but I mean, it's kind of like, do you have some female politician, like, I know Anthony, like, for instance, he's pretty big on this, but I mean, there are some female politicians who are fighting.
Mm-hmm.
So
I get that, but I'm kind of in his camp where I will not vote for any woman for
sure,
office.
sure.
Period. I don't care if it's a Democrat or Republican. It doesn't matter to me. And if it's a woman Republican, she's not getting my vote.
Yeah.
That's my personal decision. I'm just not. It's the whole,
I
to
get
me,
it.
it's the whole boss bitch thing.
I
So,
get it. I get it.
yeah.
I really do get it. I mean, I don't do that, but I get it. Like, I'm pragmatic at this point. I feel like I have to be pragmatic with it and kind of,
Mhm.
but there, anyway, I mean, so this is kind of like the women in the manosphere situation. I think you get a lot of it, but just to talk about the other half of this, which is the femisphere.
Mhm.
This is a beautiful thing. It's a really, really beautiful thing. And what I've seen being created by a lot of these women, they have no interest in dealing with what the men are doing. They want to create female spaces, and they're doing all sorts of like holistic health care and cycle tracking and beauty tips and
Show another woman how to show a man. I mean, I was thinking about this today. What would I want to see? Show me how to fold a fitted sheet.
yeah,
Okay. Like, I fold a fitted sheet and it's a ball of whatever.
yeah.
Yeah. Anybody that doesn't know what a fitted sheet, that's your sheet that goes over your mattress. You know, it's got the elastic on it. Like, how do you fold that?
I don't know how to do it.
I don't know how to do it. You know what, women, if you're watching, show us how to do that. Not just show us, show other women. Like,
Yeah.
I've seen some of these great channels that, like, it'll show women how to cook. It'll show women how to, whether it be iron a pair of pants. And that might sound just like really boring stuff, but that's things that I think women nowadays need to learn to know how to do, especially women that have been divorced and are looking for a man. Like, you might want to learn how to do some of that stuff. And it's not belittling to women.
No.
You know what I mean? It's not. It's something that I think as a woman, that's part of nurturing and taking care of your man.
I said this on Twitter maybe even a year ago at this point, but there is it's mostly on Instagram, but it's probably on YouTube, and it's on Twitter as well to a certain extent. You have these, I guess you could call them like mommy vloggers,
Yeah.
and they are talking about like things they're going through with kids and stuff that happened, and here's this new thing that they got and how it's helpful. And they make a business out of it, but they're
Mhm.
such a positive influence. They're such a
Mhm.
positive influence. And I mean, and a lot of the stuff that they sell, like my wife will get it sometimes, and it's actually like really helpful stuff.
Mhm.
So but the point is that they are like, it's a female space, and they become aspirational figures. And that's what I love to see. I love to see this femisphere. And I would ask women, I would ask this, and I'm not saying that they have to do it, but I would ask women who are in the manosphere and talking to men, do you feel like this is where you are best serving the world? Or do you feel like you could better serve the world by taking the message, modifying it a little bit, and talking to women? I
Mhm.
think the latter will make a bigger impact.
Yeah.
You won't get the attention that you're getting right now.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that because that was my thoughts today. Again, when I plan a topic for a show, my thought kept going to what we need is more women talking to other women
Yeah.
about what they can do to improve. And, for me, even saying that is almost polarizing to women. Like, what do you mean we need to improve? That kind of thing. Well, you're 45 years old and you're living with a bunch of cats and, you're drinking box wine, that whole thing. You know what I mean? Yeah, you do need to improve. So I think that when I thought about like content creators, things like that are more important than, I'll say, trying to help the man.
Yeah.
Okay. There are a lot of guys that I think that go toward more motherly figures, which I think sometimes I guess is good if you had a shitty mother,
Mhm.
as long as they're genuine. So, and speaking of my guests, Good Mother and Minka, if you guys want to jump on anytime backstage and we'll start bringing you on here because I'm only going to go about 2 hours tonight. But so you guys jump on if you want and we'll start
And
getting this conversation rolling even more.
and to be perfectly nuanced, which is what I'm known for, I mean, I do think for certain problems that there can be a lot of benefit to a man working with a woman for certain
Mhm.
problems, certain emotional issue. And of course, a woman who's really a master and expert at her craft is integrated enough to be able to deal with both categories.
Mhm.
But we're not talking to these, professionals. We're mostly talking about, a girl who's like halfway decent looking who came in and talks a lot, and she knows how to do it. Are they better served talking to women? I think that they are better served talking to women. Um, for the most part, I think that that's the case. But
Mhm.
what was I gonna say here? Or something else I was gonna add. I I I don't know about a lot of like just pearly things. Like I've heard of her. I've heard of her guys because I think Tate had some sort of he was on one of her shows, although I don't think I really watched it. But um I don't understand what is it about her that's gotten so much traction compared to like other.
I have no idea. First of all, she's not attractive in any way, shape, or form. Maybe that has something to do with it. like a non-attractive woman talking. Maybe guys like that. Maybe they find it less threatening. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe she's like just attractive enough to that they would want that they would look at her, be okay with like looking to her, but not like so attractive that their warning
Yeah.
radar goes up, you know?
Yeah. I think that's a good point there. Exactly. So like she's so damn good looking. Why is she talking about this stuff? And then like, wait, she's kind of homely looking. Okay. Well, she's got to be legit if she's homely looking.
Mhm.
You know, that's kind of what I thought about. You know,
Yeah.
I was trying to look at every possible angle when I came up with this subject. So
Yeah. I mean, what was I gonna say with this? I think the big thing that guys have to remember is that there's gonna be women participating in this. It's a public space. There's nothing wrong with it. At the end of the
mhm,
day, there's nothing wrong with it. Men can create more private communities that are just for men,
mhm,
and that's what they should be doing. Um, you know, I don't work with women. I have women ask me pretty much every week if I would work with them, if I'll do a call. I don't work with women. I won't work with women. It's not because I don't care about women. I care about women a lot.
mhm,
And I probably could help women, but there's two reasons I don't work with women. The first reason is that I want to really maintain my focus on men. That's my vocation. I feel that. I feel called to it. I do not feel called to help women directly. I help women indirectly by helping the men in their lives. And I think that there's other I would like to see other women focus on other women, helping women and talking
mhm.
specifically about what it's like. Because I don't know what it's like to go to be a woman. I don't know what their lived experience is. It doesn't mean I can't help them, 22 convention. I talk to women, but
Yeah, and
I
you got
don't
some your 22 convention speeches are excellent. They really are. They're
thank you.
just really, really good. And I think any women watching, check out Pat's 22 convention speeches, especially the one I think it was from. It would be, I guess it would be 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, the
That
the
was
initial 22 convention.
the integrated man,
Yeah.
integrated woman. That's just a great, just a excellent speech when it comes to talking to women. I do have Amanda, good mother, backstage, and I'm going to bring her on right now. So we're going to welcome our first guest and say hello. How are you?
Hi, Amanda. It's great to see you again.
Oh, you're muted.
You're muted.
Sorry. How are you
Okay.
guys, Tony?
Good. How
Pat?
are you?
Good.
Where are you? What's back? Are you like in an archaeological site?
No, it's my aquarium in the background.
Oh my, okay. I thought it was like super zoomed out.
No.
Well, Amanda, it's good
Mhm.
to have you tonight. You've been listening contently, I see in the chat, and
Yeah.
so why don't you introduce yourself to the audience and kind of tell people what you do, and then I'll give kind of my take on what you do. So,
Okay. I'm Amanda. I have a channel called Good Mother. I also have a few backup channels. Crazy Bitchy Boot Camp, The Working Man's Hostel. Let's see. Another Good Mother channel. I guess my primary focus for my channel is feminism, the universities, and the psychology field specifically,
Hmm.
because I see that as the fundamental place where the most ideological, infected, crazy bitches get to promulgate their mental illness. So we have a pretty big mental health crisis in our society, and I put feminists at the core of that. So that's kind of
okay,
my
and
focus.
is that like that's the core of your channel? I mean, excuse me, I've had the popular flu last week, so if I cough a little, that's because
Oh, the rebranded common cold and flu.
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I've listened to your channel. I didn't know of you or really heard of you before I met you at 21.
Yeah.
So of course I've ghost watched your channel and kind of checked things out. But to me, the probably one of the biggest things that I've noticed on your channel, and I'm going to say probably the most for me, engaging is listening to guys' stories.
Yeah.
I do think you bring some guys on that have some, God, I hate saying sad stories, but just like really rough,
Awful. Yeah.
just really rough stuff.
Yeah.
Almost hard to listen to sometimes.
Yeah. Well, and what's kind of strange about that, like I grew up with a crazy bitch for a mom. And so those guys' stories is kind of of a reflection of like what my father and my stepdad went through in my upbringing. So like a lot of the complaints that the men have with the laws and how women get away with abusing authority and all that kind of stuff. Like I watched it firsthand. So I know it's a big problem. I didn't know feminists were the cause of all that policy though. I didn't know that until like 2 years ago. So
you look at, and I hope to have him on sometime soon, which is Jeff Younger. If anybody watching is not familiar with Jeff Younger's story, it is, it's beyond what I can even say. It's not, doesn't make sense to me. I'm still processing it after I've known Jeff now 2 years. I'm still processing.
Yeah.
I'm still processing how strong Jeff is. That's, I guess I'm processing that more than anything.
Yeah.
And the things that the attempts he's made and the progress he's made to rectify this horrible situation, not just in his life, but in other men's lives. Yeah. So big shout out to Jeff Younger. If you don't know his situation, it's something that you have to kind of do a deep dive into to really to understand it. And what's funny is that on my Instagram recently, I had put up basically a segment from when he was on Tucker Carlson. Put that up. Oh, I think it was January 11th. And for some strange reason, the algorithm took it off. And for me to have a reel that I think it has like 10,000 views right now. And I can't even tell you how many likes. So for some reason, Instagram kind of cut that one loose. And I was just surprised on how many people have just commented on that little, whatever it is, 2-minute clip. Yeah. And I did take the most brutal part of his appearance on Tucker Carlson. And so maybe that's telling me that maybe some of this woke culture is getting unwoke right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I've actually, I have a stream to do hopefully sometime this weekend because I follow my local university, which is Texas A&M University. To anybody who doesn't know, the diversity, inclusion, equity policies that are happening at our universities that are putting women in positions they don't belong in. But I guess there's some Texas law that they're really worried about to what is it, to ban all DIE initiatives. They're actually the professors, the feminist professors, these little terrified tyrants are really worried about it. So it actually makes me really happy.
I do have Minka backstage, so I'm going to bring Minka on. Minka is one of the newest content creators, and I would call her a Manosphere content creator. She had an appearance on Fresh and Fit, I'll say, in the past couple months. And she might want to talk about that, but we're going to get her input too. So I want to welcome Minka tonight. Minka, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
I'm good. Have you been watching and enjoying Pixar? Okay.
Good talk.
So why don't you introduce yourself to people that don't know you and introduce yourself to Pat Stedman?
My name is Minka. I have a channel called Better Biatches, and we by I mean me and anyone who's there. We have done interviews to kind of highlight what the Manosphere is about in regards to men's perspective and like why they chose whatever sector they're in, so that women can like understand it better than it's not just like misogyny. And then we also have girls' night and guys' night. I haven't been streaming for the last 2 weeks, so it's a little spotty right now, but my main focus is actually on what you were talking about, is reaching more women.
Yeah, I like the idea of almost acting like a translator for women.
Yeah, that's kind of what it's been. It's been a while.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's women that Minka can talk to that won't even come near me. Like, there's so many women that are terrified of me. And so they're kind of drawn to her. And something that I wanted to touch base with her on later, because I've been watching the Davos things. Yeah, all the conventions they have at Davos.
Forum.
Yeah. So all the feminists, I sat through all of them, and a running theme is you can't be what you can't see. That's why they're trying to put so many women in positions of power. And I think that speaks to kind of what Minka's trying to do too, is she tends to attract women that I guess look like her, because that seems to be what a lot of these group identitarians identify with, I guess. People that look like them. So I think it's helpful to have a translator, somebody that they feel comfortable talking to.
I want to ask both Amanda and Minka the same question. Who is? We'll start with Amanda. Who is your target audience? And then I'm going to let Pat ask some questions right after this one. Who is your target audience? And then I want to go to Minka and ask her the same thing. Your target audience, not who follows you, but your actual target audience.
My target audience, I think, are people in positions that don't feel that they can speak up. Like in my community where I live, the majority of my clients are people that work at the university. And so they can't speak up about stuff, or they feel that they can't speak up. I mean, there's been stuff that has happened that, you know, they've had to sacrifice bits and pieces of their integrity to keep their damn job. So they're a little more hesitant to actually speak up when they see something's wrong. So my target audience is people that work in those positions. I'm trying to accumulate a lot of the same stuff and try to give them a little more motivation to, you know, do the right damn thing, instead of letting these bullshit policies ruin every institution. So
you're working your channel also in your personal life is kind of what you're
yes. Saying. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Right on. And then let's go to Minka. What is your ideal target audience that you want to attract? Is it men? Is it women? Is it both?
It's both.
It's both.
So it's weird because I can't fully have the dialogue without the men there, if that makes sense. My target audience is women. I want to have the discussion with women, but when it comes to having the discussion, what I'm finding is that it's better when I'm in the middle and there's a man and a woman. So it's the guys that really were like the people that woke me up. So like, you know, Mr. is a little weird because it's like I found the guys like snap me into reality of like, oh, I'm not a victim. It is easy. And then I met Good Mother, and then Good Mother really woke me up to like the laws and the regulations and stuff that are against men. And so I've learned a tremendous amount, but now it's about dialogue. So where men continue to say, what is it, the word? Not just lead me. Submit. There you go. A lot of women have a problem with the word submission and servitude, right? Which is the word that a lot of the red pill guys like to use. And we had one where Uncle Guns was explaining something about traditional values, and he was talking about those words, and so was Caduceus from the Vital Message. And I stopped the whole thing and I was like, if he were paying all the bills, doing everything, protecting you, making sure the kids are okay, disciplining everything, your life, you don't have to worry about like if you're going to eat or where you're going to live. If he said, hey, if I have a job opportunity making more, do you trust me to lead our family? All the women said, yeah, I could see that. But when you only say, are you going to submit? You have a servitude attitude? It's very off-putting to anyone. If you tell a man, hey, are you going to like worship me and like believe me it's like any guy would be like, nah, you know what I mean? So when we change the words to really mean what the guys are trying to say to the women that don't understand it, it's like guy language and girl language. It's fun.
Okay.
Yeah. And then,
I just
wanted to add,
you said talk a lot.
just wanted to jump in with something here, and not to necessarily take it in any kind of like religious direction, but I think it's at least relevant when understanding a lot of the substrate. When this whole idea of a woman submitting to a man, it became this big trigger. But if you actually go back to the root of it, I think it's in Ephesians. I was at a
Right.
wedding a few weeks ago. The man is supposed to submit to God.
Right.
So it's not like, I think that feminists really took that and then they manipulated it that this is about a man having control over a woman,
Slavery.
where it's really like both of them are submitting.
Right.
The man has to take on a certain level of responsibility and surrender of his own will in order to properly lead a family.
Well, and that's, again, like any which way you go around in regards to religion, there's a lot of different ways you go. I mean, even with like, what is it? Allah says men are not supposed to take money from women, that men are supposed to provide and protect. If a woman works, she does not add to the family household, and that's her money, right?
Yeah.
It's just really funny when you use religion, there's a lot of like clarity. But it is very much that word was demonized. And so when you change it to trust, like, would you be able to blindly trust this person if they're taking care of everything? Every woman I talk to says yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing. It's like, all right, you say it's going to be that way. Okay, it's going to be that way. Damn it. Like, somewhere
like, so it's like, wait.
Yeah, and the other thing too is that women have gone very far away from the power that we actually have, right? And I say this in traditional roles. Good. So I had my mom interview me because there's a lot of like, you can't understand me without understanding my mom first.
Yeah, I like your mom.
By the way, good mother, my mom was like, I really am thinking I should have arranged marriaged you, because
I knew it.
And she like broke it down to a way that was like, damn, mom, that makes sense.
Right.
Like, back in the day when people do arranged marriage, it wasn't the way people demonize it. It was your mother and your father were the people that knew you the absolute best. So they weren't going to choose whatever trash was around, like in the Roman Empire, you have to marry a king and a queen. No, you were a regular person, but you still had to find a good high value partner. And so she was saying, she's like, you would talk to the family and they would talk to you and you guys would put money together to show that you were wealthy enough to have that person. And you find person, okay, I think he could be okay with her problems over here. Okay, I think she could be okay with his problems over here. And that's how it would work out. And I was like, I don't want to talk to you anymore, Mom. It sounds good.
What you're saying is make dowries great again.
Oh man, dude. We did the interview and Good Mother was asked, my 12-year-old sister was there. And Good Mother asked my mom, would you consider an arranged marriage with my son once your daughter came of age? Boy.
I have an 18-year-old son. So.
Yeah, my mom was like, I could consider that. We'll talk after.
Right? It was funny. I just wanted to see her response. I was half kidding.
Well, and that's the thing, though. She keeps talking about it now. And then you also take into consideration, like, the way that she is hard on me, right? So I've been saying a lot that men, and I say this to people, they don't have anything to say back because women were raised to believe you can do anything, you can be anything. No matter what you do, someone will always be there to help you, whether it's your family, your loved one. I'm sober in AA, and even we have a problem with women staying sober because there's always a drug dealer or a boyfriend or someone that's going to take care of them and prolong the whatever. My mom raised me, and men are raised to believe that you don't deserve anything. You're not owed anything. Nothing will ever be given to you. You have to work hard for everything. And so you have these total polar opposites. And as we adult, as a woman, I'm like, it's easier being a man when really it's easier being a woman. We do have issues. I'm not going to sit here and be like, we don't have any. We do. 1 in 5 women are raped. Like, that's a serious thing. There's women that don't feel safe. That's a serious thing. But in comparison to all of the things that men go through, it's like, I feel bad for you guys, but like, I've the black pillars like Self and all of them have like woken me up to the fact that I do have a golden ticket. I do have way more potential and ability, as you've said, Tony. I went on Fresh and Fit. I went on what was it? a Universal Telemundo dating show. I have been able to be a guest on multiple men's podcasts and panels, and I've been invited to a lot more things simply because I'm a female. Now my only goal when I do that is I'm saying the same message that we talk about on Good Mother's stream, on Tony's stream, on the Vital Message, when we're behind the scenes with like Rishi and Uncle Guns and Self, and we're talking about the issues. That's the same thing I'm talking about over there. I'm just translating it differently when I'm talking to women. It's softer and nicer.
Which is helpful because I really don't care about these women's feelings. So
I think me and Pat here, I know Pat's, I'm going to ask a couple hard questions. I do think that, do you guys think that you guys collect simps? Period.
You do or we do?
Do you think that you collect them? Because I do. I think there are guys that do simp for any woman that's on any platform, period. Plain and simple. No, like, do you guys think that you collect simps, period?
I think it would be unrealistic to say no, like inadvertently or whatever. Like it's gonna. I mean, I can tell you.
I mean, there was a show. There was a show with I think it was Caduceus's dating show that you were on, and you actually asked the guy if and I remember I remember it was Duke from Duke and Don. I remember his facial expression from that show when you had asked if you could peg a dude. And I had to look up what pegging means. And I'm like, oh, Jesus. And I'm like,
it's worse.
And the
oh my God,
one dude had said, yes, I'd try it. Pat, this is no lie. And
it was on a stream.
I was literally like, I looked like Beavis and Butthead, just like Beavis, like with that look. Like, did this guy really say that in front of so thousands of people can see that? And to me, that is the ultimate collection of a simp right there. Like, so well, I got to go to Pat on this one.
I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say.
Let me clarify that.
Quote Eric Demonstratum, right?
It was on the Black Pill Bachelorette. And it's on the Vital Messages show. It's really fun because we'll have one girl contesting and it'll be several men contesting for her, right? It's a dating show. And I was just, it's the internet. We troll. They're black pillars. It's hard trolling. So I asked, because I didn't think anyone would say yeah. And when this man said yes, I would be into it. And there were certain men that anything that I would say to like push the envelope, they were open to it. Not just open to it. They were like, that sounds like a plan. And I was like, oh, I don't like you. But so yeah, inadvertently or vertently, like I think it's a part of the whatever you call it, that there are simps. There are going to be men that are going to feel paid attention to when they haven't been paid attention to in a long time, understood, like you said. And it is a very vulnerable thing, but it is, like you said, the responsibility of do not do anything with it. Right. So it's one of the first things that I woke up to is the simple thing of like, I'll tell you this. So fucked up. I haven't taken out my trash in years, like years. I'm talking like probably 7 years. I have not taken out my trash. My neighbor takes out my trash every single, and they bring it back. And it was never even a dialogue. It was just, they kept seeing me like, oh, I forgot the trash. Oh, I forgot the trash. And I'm a single female. And the guy just takes out my trash, right? It is as simple as that, because the way that our men have been brought up is to want to protect women, is to want to help women, is to want to pay attention to women. That is, like you said, women wanting to be where the men are. Where are the men? Where are the men? It's very, very similar. It's just the responsibility of don't do anything with it. So I've had DMs from guys leading with their wallet and all sorts of things. I don't even acknowledge it. Mm-hmm. It's or I'll say something like, you're a dumbass for leading with your wallet. This is why you're going to get into trouble. Like, but yeah.
I want to go to Amanda on this question. Amanda, do you think you collect simps? Because I've seen your streams and I've seen some of the comments and it's like, geez, wow.
Which comments though? If you're talking about Lawrence trolling Alice comments, those are different than
just typical comments. I might look at
I can tell you this.
I can look at things through a different lens, I think, than a lot of people. So
Yeah.
when I do occasionally like look in there and it's like, whoa, okay, there's some simping going on there.
Yeah, we can see it. It doesn't have to be super on the nose.
Yeah.
I can tell you something else though that's going to change it a little bit, because I had the same thing and I talked to Good Mother about it. It was like, first of all, I didn't know everyone was scared of Good Mother. I really like her. And one of the things that I first noticed was I was like, this lady's got a bunch of simps. They're all just like, good mother, good mother, good mother, right? And I think that's what you're kind of touching on, right? Maybe, guys?
I mean,
Yeah,
I haven't
well,
seen the channel, but
I mean,
I've seen similar, so I can.
I don't know, because honestly, I hang out with the group of men that have the worst reputation for hating women. So
And that's why
I don't I
Because-
don't believe that I collect simps on my channel. I mean, when we do streams, it's like I have a focus, a topic, something that I saw that I want to dissect. There's men from all over the world that come to my channel to discuss issues. We don't talk about dating, like, I mean, because the majority of the guys that join in on the conversation identify with MGTOW. So it's like no date, no cohabitation, no relationship, whatever. So it's like if they have something to contribute to the topic at hand, they contribute. There's a few guys that will troll a couple of the crazy bitches though that psycho watch my channel.
Mhm.
And they'll make comments because like one specifically, she will psycho watch and like take screenshots and then post it on her channel, and it's ridiculous, but he does it just for her.
Yeah, but I do see, like I said,
Lawrence.
you're getting a male perspective, somebody who's
Yeah.
looking from the outside in and saying,
Yeah.
okay, that was a very simpy comment. And I don't want to say just it might be a compliment to you or things like that, but
Yeah.
in this YouTube world,
Yeah.
comments and especially the chat, a lot of times things are said to get your attention and your attention specifically. Okay, that's whether it's Amanda or Minka or whoever. So I think there's levels to that, but simping is simping is simping. Whether it's a low level, high level, but I do see it. And I do think that any woman on YouTube and a YouTube channel will collect. But Pat, you want to go ahead?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess so. I think this is an interesting thing from like a definitional standpoint, because we're calling it simping, and it really is a spectrum. And I think, maybe there's a specific, like, you have to really gauge what is the intention. And there's a lot of unconscious intent that the guy himself might not be aware of. But just to kind of give an idea of this, I mean, if being a woman speaking out about some of these issues that guys face, there will be guys who are maybe more protective over you.
Oh yeah, no. That I do have, Pat, because my channel, I host a lot of guys for complete free speech. So they're actually really protective over the channel.
Yeah.
Like they highly value having that space where they can say things that they're afraid to say on their channels, because a lot of them have, they're on their 5th, 10th, 16th channel because they say things and they get canceled. And my channel is still standing after all the shit that I say.
And that's what I wanted to touch on when I said the whole simping thing that I have seen. I'm a simp for Good Mother, 100%. And that's what I wanted. I wanted to give the shift of perspective, because the majority of the men in the it's MGTOW, so they're not they're the most apprehensive out of all the groups that I've been around. And what I've seen is, and I talked to you about this, I was like, aren't they simps though? And what I've experienced myself, which changed my perspective, was when I've had so many different situations. And as a female, I think Good Mother and I both can contest it. Like, there's going to be men and definitely a lot of women that are not liking it, like not liking us or a channel or whatever. And for me to be able to first experience the freedom of speech I did with your channel, like being on there and being able to say the things that we're saying and have that liberation, was like, oh, I like being here, right? And then on top of that, whenever I'm having like a tough go, like I had an issue with another content creator a while back, and I came and I talked to you, it was like, it's a safe it really feels like a safe space. And that's a dialogue where we started talking about where did all of the issues start from? And Good Mother was saying that it was motherhood. And I've talked to a lot of people. It's like, yeah, we did have a spike in people having children that did not want to have children, that weren't ready or whatever. And anyone that I talked to with issues that we're dealing with on a societal standard, they adhered to the messages being said because of bad parenting. It all comes down to the same thing. And so again, it's like there's two different, I think there's, like you said, there's a spectrum, right? I think that when it comes to Good Mother's channel, it is really has been a standing and safe space, and she hasn't changed her position. She hasn't been like, oh, by the way, here's my new course, here's my new this, here's my, you know what I mean?
I think this is the real line. Is so a guy is protective, or a guy is, you know, sends supportive, encouraging words, but if he may be doing that, and you know, he'll say that even his intention is just pure to support, to protect, whatever. There's nothing. It's clean, right? The question comes in is if either of you were to start to message him privately, start to express your own interest in that individual, right, how would he then take it? Right. And I think for a lot of guys, more guys than would be prepared to admit, but you could reveal it from them if you were, I definitely don't do it, but you could, if you were to manipulate them, right, by pretending to be interested, you could draw out that these guys would be interested. These guys, like, there might be a barrier. They might not trust it at first, but they'd eventually be interested. And that's how you can kind of see, like, how clean is it actually. And look, right, male-female dynamics are not clean, and they're never going to be completely clean. And that's the whole idea of this conversation about male spaces and female spaces and the crossover, because you can't have a clean dynamic. I mean, like in combat units, it's incredible that they are trying to introduce women in the combat units. I mean, that is a way to completely destroy a military unit, because the group can no longer operate as a team.
Right.
So anyway, I wanted to throw that out there, because I think you can only peel it back once there's been sexual availability from the other party.
Right.
Well, yeah, but that's contingent upon the sexual availability of this part, or like this side, you know what I mean? And that's where the responsibility, like I said earlier, comes into play, where you can pretty much, I mean, you used the example earlier of, or no, you didn't, but Roma Army is one that I really, right. And it's very easy to see, like, okay, I see it. I think that it's pretty, it's also,
didn't she like try to kill herself or something?
Dude,
she's
got to look, for me to roll my eyes at that statement says a lot about the
it's like that Spanish girl who like can't pronounce things. Like, I didn't know how to say. Yeah, that's a French accent, but you know what I'm talking about. You know that girl. You know that girl.
There's also, like, I mean, we've talked about it before too. Roma Army came from the what is it? She was from the Romanian orphanage, and it's been said, like, there's a lot of sociopaths. They couldn't hold the babies, right? So it kind of like for me, it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
I feel bad about what I said now, because she's probably sexually abused.
She probably, and that's the thing. That's the thing where it's like you can deduce a person by a lot of different things. You asked about pearly things. The reason she got so big is, number one, she was in the Europe area, which is this is brand new over there. So that's number one. They have an American female talking about these things, but she's not. She just to me. Sorry, Good Mother. I still don't like her. She just keeps condemning it and not creating a dialogue, which is very difficult to watch. But then she also played the part. She could talk about that she does have sexual experiences with other men, but she's always wearing like the sunflower dresses, and she's saying what men want to say. They want to say this. She is.
They want right.
Say not want
right.
to, but they want to say. Right. So watching a woman get away with being able to say these things to other women is where the excitement comes from. Is where the popularity has come from, because And I get it, because it's if any man tries to have these conversations to a regular woman, there's a lot of issues, and it's the scary part is the ramifications that a man can go through with just, you know, it's like a whole
Let me ask everybody on the panel here. Do you think a lot of these guys that go on these streams and listen to these different women, including guys that listen to you, Amanda, and to you, Minka, do you think these guys are just addicted to attention and have nobody to talk to? Is that why they do it? Because I see things that, like, when people say stuff on streams, I sometimes I sit back, I'm like, why the fuck would you even say that? You know, like, I'm like
On my streams?
on a lot of streams.
generally.
I mean, like, to me, it's like, isn't that just to the point to where it's too personal? And the issue that I have is a lot of times is that, like, sometimes guys, you just need to buck the fuck up, just like buck up and be a fucking man and quit fucking complaining and quit crying, because I see a lot of crybabies. I see more crybabies in women's Manosphere women's spaces than I do in any other men's spaces. And I always feel like they need to cry to the woman for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe it's a mommy issue. I have no clue. But that's kind of my personal observation. I want to go to Pat on that.
I think that they resent being a man. I mean, this is what I've always said about, like, people like Rolo, who are obsessed about all the things that women can get away with. Like, yeah, women do have it, quote unquote, easier from a certain perspective. I mean, I think it's a completely different experience of living and have a completely different experience of problems. But the thing is, I'm a man and I like being a man. I like having problems to solve. I like having responsibilities to bear. I don't want to not have that stuff, because I know that when I have not had any of that stuff on my plate, when I don't take on tasks, then it's like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? It feels pointless. Like, I get meaning. And I think men who have actually stepped into it get meaning out of being a man. The problem isn't that men have to take on responsibility. And when guys complain about that stuff, like, I just see, like you said, Tony, crybaby. I mean, that's somebody who themselves has completely rejected being a man at their core. The complaint is not about taking on responsibility. The complaint is about not getting authority for taking on responsibility. That is the valid complaint, because that is what's not right, so to speak. Although complaining about it is also, in a certain sense, denying, giving authority to somebody else because you're going to complain.
Right.
Like, if you're going to opt out of the system, if you're going to opt out of this dynamic, like, you don't do it by, like, whining about it online all the time. That's not sub-communicating what you think it's sub-communicating. Just go and do stuff on your own and build stuff on your own. And, there's a bunch of I took my children to some, like, model train shit. This is going to sound like totally off base, but bear with me for a second. We went to, like, a museum in New Jersey called Northlands, and it's like this enormous building. It takes like 2.5 hours to go through it. It's a guy, he literally built, like, this entire model train thing that goes on for, like, hours and miles, and he spent years doing it. And this was, like, a complete fixation and focus of him. And it's kind of like, okay, it's kind of nerdy, right? But it's kind of cool. Like, he just dedicated his focus to that. And guess what? He had it was his wife that really encouraged him to do it.
Yeah.
And but after she passed away, another woman came towards him because he was like, I'm not thinking about women anymore. I'm just going to be focused on building this. And a woman's like, oh, there's a guy on his path and his mission. I want him. And so he fell in love again. It's like, if guys would just stop fucking complaining and do things. Like, don't do it for women then. You're pissed off at women. You don't think women don't respect it. So go build something great. See what happens. Like, that's MGTOW. That's like the original MGTOW.
Yeah. And I've always had kind of a thought on MGTOW. I always thought it was I think it's a healthy place a lot of times when a man goes through trauma to go and visit. But this is my personal opinion, is like, enjoy it, live it, build your empire, but don't pitch a freaking tent there, man. Like visit that place for a while, understand yourself, get your authenticity back, get yourself back before you, I guess, complain too much. But sometimes I guess these different channels and MGTOW channels are a place for guys to get that shit out of their system. But how many times can you do it? That's the problem that I have.
That's my pushback on some of this stuff, because I mean, I suppose that there are guys who are quiet, who maybe go in and visit the place and they don't say much and they kind of absorb it and then they kind of quietly move on, and fair enough. But in terms of like main commentators, I don't see anybody moving on or processing. I just see guys complaining, and it's effeminate to complain. So I don't, you know, when I work with clients, some of them have bitterness, and that's okay. And I'm happy I hold a space for them to be bitter and to process it and to empathize, and then also to deconstruct, right? Like, you know, I understand why you have this resentment. It's, you know, it's how it's justified. And also here's how it's holding you back. And that's when they actually, you know, that's how they start to heal and move forward. They need to be in the presence of a man who's more experienced than them, who's gone through it, a mentor, and they need the mentor to hold space for them and tell them to stop being a pussy at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's a great one. That's, you know, I get a little tired of the crybabies. I don't know what and I hate saying that to a man, but sometimes, man, the only thing I can say is you got to buck up. There's times to be a man. Like, you got to step up. You've got to control your own freaking life. You get to the point to where, you know, I've seen channels for years where it's the same guys in the chat complaining about the same thing. I don't care if it's like a Rolo channel. I haven't watched Rolo in, I don't know, forever. I could go in that chat and I'll guarantee it's the same guys. He's never yours. It's just your turn. Blah, blah, fucking blah. You know what I mean? So, like, men need to learn to be strong, and a part of masculinity is dealing with your own problems. Just plain and simple. And that's tough. That's tough sometimes. I get that. But I think it's important as men that sometimes you got to separate yourself from all the clutter, all the noise, and take care of business. Take care of yourself. Take care of your body. Take care of your health. Things like that. You know, I've had the popular flu. But, you know, I went to the doctor on Thursday and it was just a checkup. And he told me, he had said a lot of guys that weren't in shape could not handle what I went through last week. You know, for me, it was just 2 days, where other people, it's lasted weeks and months and going on. But that's part of being a man, is handling your business. But don't we get to the point to where the crying and the crybaby shit just has to stop? Isn't that what's part of being a man? Also, we have Michael Foster. It's good to be a man. So welcome, Michael Foster. I'm giving this book away tonight, free copy to somebody. So,
really? Very cool. Yeah, thank you. But, I'm just here because I miss you, Tony. I miss you. Yeah. And I saw Pat was on. I see we have some ladies here I'm not as familiar with, but it's always good to see Pat. I almost wanted to put my white T-shirt on. We look like Bruce. We do it Bruce Willis style tonight. But
I'm looking forward to chatting with you tomorrow, Michael.
Yeah, what time are we doing that again?
3:30 Eastern.
3:30.
That's still good. We'll figure it out off.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. That'd be great. I was like, I had an alarm. I had an alarm set on my phone, and it said, "Figure out who I'm doing that interview with tomorrow." I'm not even joking. I was like, I think it's Pat Stedman, but I got to go look at my notes. But
I want to welcome you, Michael Foster. This is a great treat that you're jumping on tonight again. We're broadcasting not only on my channel, but on 21 Studios. So a lot of people are familiar with you on 21 Studios. But I do you had met Amanda at 21, but I do want to introduce you to Minka.
That's right.
And
what is your name again?
Minka.
Minka. Nice to meet you,
Yeah.
Minka.
Nice to meet you too.
So our topic is women in the manosphere. I just want to go straight to Michael Foster and get your thoughts on that.
I mean, I get why they're here. I get, so women want to help men. Women like attention. And I'm sure there's a mixture of all those things going on in terms of motives. That I think there are some, I've seen a lot of women that go into the space that want to try to be helpful to guys that are out there struggling. And it comes from a sincere place. God made Adam first, and then he brought Eve to him, called him a helpmate suitable to him. So I think women do have a general desire to be helpful to men. And I think that's a good thing. And so I understand why they come here. I also know, though, that that the desire to be seen and to be desired in various ways, it's like high school. People like being popular. People like being liked. And people even like attention sometimes when it's negative attention. And so if you're a woman that starts up a channel speaking to the topics that, you could just take the exact same topics that have been done on any Manosphere channel and do it as a woman, and you'll get a lot of attention. It'll be a mixed attention. It won't all be good. There'll be some really nasty guys saying some really nasty things. And then there'll be guys that will kind of be disgusting because they're such suck-ups, right? And kind of, begging for your affirmation. I don't know. I think it'd be really hard as a woman in this space to bring effective change and to help guys. I'm not saying it's impossible, and I'm not saying that the only motive is to be seen. I don't think that's true. I think that can be true as men as well. Just think it's a really difficult place to accomplish anything good as a woman. And so I don't know. Those are my thoughts. They're not super deep thoughts. Here's what I'll say. If you're a really talented gamer and you start a Twitch account and you're a dude, you'll get some followers. If you're okay gamer and a good looking woman, you'll get a lot of followers on Twitch. It's just a fact. It's like everyone knows this is how it plays out. And so I think they'll get a lot of, I don't know about you guys, Amanda, I don't know if you have a channel or not. I feel like you do, right? Or are you just active in the space?
I have a channel. My focus is feminist universities and psychology field, though. I mean,
okay.
the only reason
so it's adjacent to the Manosphere.
Yeah,
right?
I wouldn't call myself a Manosphere channel because there's people from all different spheres that come to my channel to discuss topics about our society. So,
are there fish moving around you? Am I tripping out?
Yeah, they're fish. They're goldfish.
I honestly think it was like, because now you can kind of see it really clearly with the goldfish. Before it was just like the black one or something. I thought that you were, because I've been to museums like this before where they have like Roman ruins underground, and I thought that was like a person walking around. I'm like, what on earth?
I was trying to figure out what was going down myself. I was like, man,
goldfish.
You all always trip out on your background. It's like,
I know.
It's really cool. It's really cool, but I just had no idea. Like then I saw like, oh, there are fish there. Okay, I'm like,
yeah.
Now,
Minka, what's your channel on?
I think Amanda's channel, I'm just going to give my take on it. I think Amanda is kind of, I'll say, leading the charge on the woman's fight against feminism. Is that a good take on your channel?
I mean, I don't know. I think because I'm so offensive towards the very fragile feelings of crazy bitches, that I feel like my channel is a crazy bitch free zone that people can actually have logical discussions. Like, because I notice discussions that happen all over, there's a lot of people that get involved that derail it or cause chaos or anything like that. And it's like, women that are mean to do harm to men specifically, stay away from my channel. Mm-hmm. So a lot of,
I'll send them her way. The ones I can't, like the ones that are like a wall and it's like nothing is going through, send them to Good Mother.
Yeah, they won't come. They won't talk to me. So, I mean, I don't know what it is. They're terrified to have an actual conversation, an adult conversation with somebody, I think, that won't buy into their victim mentality and their poor me bullshit. So I don't know. I just don't play the game. So
Minka, what's your channel about?
It is targeting women to have these discussions, but kind of we'll just say we'll translate it. We're translating man language so that women can understand it. So like I have a lot of interviews that I've done with men from different sectors in the manosphere: black pill, red pill, passport bros, MGTOWs, female creators, females that are just in the space supporting. They don't have their own channel. That's what I've done interviews on, so that if women come in and they watch them, they're like, oh, okay, they're not misogynist. They have a story. They pick that sector because it means something to them, and what have you, right? But then we also have discussions with men and women where the guy will say something, I translate it so that the women can understand, and then we have a dialogue. And it's cool. What's really cool is we had one guy come in and kind of troll, not kind of, he definitely trolled and like derailed it all. And he was calling me like misogynistic and saying, why are you trying to change these women and blah, blah, blah. And the women yelled at him and they're like, we're having a discussion. It's a discussion. Leave us alone. I was like, oh yeah. So it's a learning curve. I don't really know what I'm doing, but it's fun.
I want to ask both Minka, and because I've given Minka some fatherly advice, I'll say, on her channel. And I don't, if she wants to discuss what I had talked to her about in private, that's up to her. But I'm curious on Amanda, and then I'll go to Michael Foster and Pat Stedman on this. How important is promoting femininity to both of you guys? Not feminism, but femininity, which means being the submissive woman, being, how important that is for you to get that message to other women.
So you wanted me to start, you said?
Sure.
Okay, so I actually have an example of this. We had one girl on, and she's really I do have a background in psychology. So what I do is I kind of like evaluate people and see like, okay, that's their story. That's why they're that way. That's what happened to them to make them behave this way. Right. And especially when you have a woman that's like doing the chicken head dance and like, wow, I like threw out my neck. I should not have done that. And she was just like really talking very aggressively, and I don't want a man because blah, 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 blah. And this is what I don't want in a man. This is what I'm not going to take. And this is what I'm blah, blah, blah. I actually met her on the dating show, the Hispanic one. And when we were talking about it, I told her, I'm like, your past is hurting you so much that anything that you do with that exact attitude is going to be the same thing you receive. Meaning, and she didn't understand. Everyone thought I was attacking her. I'm like, girl, I'm giving you the advice. It's yours to take or leave. I do not care. It's none of my concern. It's none of my business. But I'm letting you know, if you go to a job and you say, I deserve this, I demand this, I blah, 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 it's going to go bad. If you go to a friend and you treat them that way, it's going to go bad. You go to a man especially, you're not going to attract anything other than the bottom of the barrel. And then you're going to wonder why all men treat you this way. And it's not all men. It's just the kind of man that you attract. And I talk about it a lot, that as people in general, we attract what we are, is what I believe, right? So if I'm not the best version of myself, you better be damn believe I'm going to attract a bunch of men that are not the best versions of themselves. And I've watched it progress in my life, where it's like, as I became a better person, I attracted higher caliber men, and not just money, like the kind of people that they are, right? And anyways, we talked to her, and she told me stuff about what happened in her past and why she was upset with her dad wasn't there. Her mom wasn't a very good mom. She basically raised herself. And so we started talking about that. At the end of the conversation, when we dealt with that, and when she was understanding that her attitude is not feminine, it's not nice, no one's going to like to be around it, it's not pleasant, it's not comfortable, all these things. And she realized how it was hindering her. Mind you, we were in the hotel room. She went from like standing or being like really aggressive and like, I want to fight someone, to at the end of the conversation, her legs were crossed like this, and she had a glass of wine, and she was talking like this. And I stopped the entire conversation and I told everyone, I'm like, look at her. Just, she's not even saying anything. Just look at her. And when the conversation became more about what I do want, what do I bring in a relationship? How am I when I'm in love? What are the cute things that I do for a man when I'm really in love with him? And what kind of meals do I like to make? And all these things, her entire demeanor shifted. It changed, and she was pleasant, and she was sweet, and she was very feminine and very, I wouldn't say dainty yet, but it was with an hour of a conversation, you could see the entire demeanor of a female change into a very feminine and positive thing. And so it is very much the foundation of the conversations that I'm having with women is understanding. And that's what I touched on earlier. Women have been brainwashed to believe that we were victims and we had to stand up and be a man and be aggressive and fight for what we want. And I did subscribe to that part in like, I need to do everything Miss Independent, right? And we forgot our value and the power that we really do have. So if I'm in a relationship, I'm probably gonna like I'll be able to bring a lot of feminine values in that I'm gonna be appreciated, and I don't have to worry about a lot of things that I'm currently worrying about. It's just it's the feminine energy brings a lot of peace and tranquility and nurturing. That's why I talked about it earlier when it's like you could see Good Mother as like she has simps. I see it as like, damn, you really do feel like a good mother. And it does really feel good this way. And any man feeling those feelings for a woman and their femininity, that's what needs to shift. That's the only thing really that needs to shift. Because if a woman is feminine, she's going to understand, okay, he had a hard day. Okay, he doesn't want to talk. And there's a difference is that men and Good Mother, again, I've learned a lot from you.
I want to go to Foster and Pat on this. What are, in your guys' opinions, we'll go to Pat first and Michael Foster. What are feminine attributes that are important, not just to the woman, but to the man also? What are the most important attributes of being feminine that are important, that men not necessarily are attracted to, but that what is normal, natural, nurturing? What is the attributes you think that women need to convey to their audience?
I think as a practical matter for a lot of women today, it's being able to relax, being able to let go. You know, surrender. If you're going to surrender to a man, you need to be able to let go. Mm-hmm. One of the major reasons that women have a hard time doing that is because they can't let go of anything. They're very, very wound up. And I'm sympathetic. You know, a lot of women are working man's jobs and long hours, sometimes stressed, and they have kids, and you know, they're totally outside of their energy. I mean, I have 2 young children. I love them to death, want more. Michael, I know, has got tons. There is also at the same time, like, you know, you want to hold a baby or, you know, be there with your baby, but you're also like, this is not what I'm natural at, like dealing with a crying baby. Like this is not my zone of expertise. And you can feel as a man, it doesn't, you don't feel your masculinity getting charged by dealing with a crying baby. And I'm not saying that a woman would get her femininity charged by that. I think it's more of like a nuanced kind of topic because women need a community around them when it comes to children, to really feel good. Like if a woman's by herself raising a kid and there's no man around where the man's working, she's going to feel a tendency because she's stressed and overwhelmed to pull the man into that domain. But the point here is that the biggest impediment I see for women being able to be feminine is that they overload themselves. And so being able to let go of emotional stuff that they're carrying, you know, the women, it's a womb. Women carry, they receive all this negative energy, and it's got to get out of them for them to be able to relax and be. So I think that's kind of like a meta point that undergirds a lot of other things. And I think it's one of the reasons why you see so much obsession with women today, almost in a consumeristic way, with like ways that a woman can relax, you know, the wine, or going out on like a vacation, bubble bath, chocolate, yoga, you know, meditation. I mean, there's, and I'm not saying that they're all necessarily bad, but there's clearly like a stressed out woman problem. And stressed out women, like guys are like, they don't want to connect with that energy. So anyway, I'll pass it to Michael. What do you think?
Sure. So scripturally, so you go to Titus chapter 2, verse 3 says, older women likewise are to be reverent in behavior, so carry themselves with poise, grace, dignity. That's what that idea means right there. Then it goes on to say, not slanderers. So slandering and gossip, women use their words to, so women have higher linguistic abilities than most men. They speak sooner. They tend to master that stuff. So women can use their words to bring people together, or they can use them to divide people, right? So it's kind of like guys can use strength to build things or destroy things. And so they're not to be slanderers. So slanderers, like a guy beats a dude up, a girl destroys another girl's reputation, right, with words. Mm-hmm. It's like the sort of methods. And these are just rough generalities. Anyhow, they're not to be slaves to much wine. And that's way back in scripture. And that's because
I didn't know that. They're not to be slaves to much wine. That's
Titus chapter 2, yeah. And that's just because women deal with lots of anxiety. The reason women deal with anxiety is that they're not hormonally stable like we are. They live in a cycle of up and down and changing, where man's hormonal reality is really, really stable until once he gets into his 20s, he stays relatively the same before all the plastics and the problems we're having now. Like, sure. But really into their 50s and 60s. That's why they can still have children real late in life. But even a woman, like, she gets her period and then she enters menopause. So much of her life is built around a change in hormonal reality, right? You are married to 2 women in a month, right? And so, and a woman also has to depend on others. And that's hard. It's a very vulnerable position to trust someone else with your body, right? When you have a baby, you're trusting someone else with your body right now. And then you also have to trust them to protect and whatever. And so that can cause a lot of anxiety. A lot of times women want to know what's going on. They're asking lots of questions. They want information. They want to be in the know. They want to know that you have it in control. So what a lot of guys call shit tests, right? Really just a woman to check to see if she could depend on you. It doesn't have to be this malicious sort of thing, right?
That's a great take on that, Michael Foster. I love that. Yeah, it's not always like that.
We do that.
I've literally never heard it put like that. That is a really good take on that, on shit tests.
It's like a chair, checking if it's stable, if you can hold your weight. And so a woman is meant to be subordinate to a man, but think of subordinate like a private subordinate to admiral or something. It's like, not that they're less or whatever, it's just a matter of rank, right? You have to have, like, it's not essence when men and women are ultimately equal, but there's different rank inside of marriage. And so you have to trust this guy. So they're going to test him. They want to know that you're congruent to what you say are, and that you don't just comply to them, but you also hear them out. So a lot of times when a woman challenges a man, she wants to see that he listens to her but doesn't fold. Like, it's very important to a woman that he's willing to go, but he's willing to listen to her. So women deal with lots of anxiety because when you are putting your life in someone else's hands, you do that. So they have a tendency to go to wine for different reasons than men do. So that's one thing it says. Then it says they're to teach the young women to love their husband and children, right? So I see these women, like, in their little stupid dogs and stupid cats. They're not babies, right? But they want something little to take care of, right? Women all go into the same thing, psychology. They go into teaching, into nursing, really heavy on the hospitality, caring side of things. Oh, gee, I wonder why they're focusing on the nurture and protection of people. Why would women be doing that now? And that's because they're made to be nurturers. And so this is positive, to love their husband and children. We command things that are difficult, right? If it's 100% natural, you don't really have to say anything, but you have to command, like, it's like, you got to love your husband. That's always easy. Your children, Like sometimes you can want to punch your children in the little stupid faces, right? Then it says to be self-controlled. So that is that she has to know herself. Pure. Then it says working at home. So that's actually commanded. So now we think of homes as houses where we do Netflix and chill, places where we sleep. But that's not what homes used to be. It used to be a place of productivity. Homes where you educated people, you had a business attached to it. It's where you practice hospitality. Homes were a place where things got done. So a woman wore a bunch of hats. Modern houses are emaciated. They're not what they used to be. So it is hard for a woman to find a full place to use her gifts in a modern home. Women are very smart, right? Women can get things done. And so home could be a place where she could exercise all those gifts. But nowadays, you've taken education out of the home into public schools. We have smaller and smaller dining rooms, right? And that's because we don't have people over. People eat out more. The home is rarely a place of productivity. Now that with the internet, though, the home can be again. It's kind of an interesting. The Industrial Revolution changed the nature of households. But now the internet, actually, you're able to sell things from your house, have business, whatever. So productivity is coming back to the home. One of my favorite times in my marriage was Emily and I packing up things to ship that we sold on eBay and Amazon and doing it with our kids. It was great, you know. And so we're like watching, like every married couple watching Office reruns for the millionth time and drinking wine and selling stuff. So women are to be workers at home. A lot of women don't have a lot to add, right? They really don't. They don't know. Like, if you're going to go to college, don't spend much. Don't take out much debt, and study personal finance, and maybe get a liberal arts degree so you can educate your kids. Get something that you can actually put to apply in your home, you know. But then it says kind, you know. The tough girl shtick. You know, the brash girl, I'm going to drop all the cussing and all that stuff. Like, it just makes her look like it's like a guy swaying his hips, a woman cussing. Right? It's gross. Right? Women sway their hips because they have different shaped bones. And then also during their upside of their cycle, it loosens all the more and it causes them to sway their hips. I'm not saying that it's good for guys always cussing stuff. I'm just saying, just like a guy's hip swaying is disgusting to men, a woman being brash and not kind, right, is repulsive. Then submissive to their own husbands, that the word of God may not be reviled. So submissive is one that people struggle with. I always point out there's no submission without mission. Part of the problem is the guys aren't going anywhere. It's really hard for a woman to submit when the guy's not doing anything, right? And so guys will say, well, she should follow me anyway. To where? To where? Like to Loserville? To nowhere? To sit on the couch and watch you play video games? Where are you going, man? Like, if you're going somewhere, I agree that she should follow you, but a lot of guys aren't going anywhere, and then they whine about it. Like, well, like women will get on the back. Women, here's the lie. So much of the manosphere and red pills is so retarded, such a waste of our time. But all right, beautiful women will attach themselves to men that aren't high value in the way you're sold in the red pill. And if you grew up in the country, you know this. You walk around, you see these 9s and 10s, see these beautiful like models with like this hillbilly dude. You know, like he weighs who knows what, 110 pounds wet. And here's this beautiful girl walking around with this guy on his arm, and you're like, and the guy's getting into some old pickup truck, you know. But it's his attitude, his confidence. She sees that he's gonna do something. He may not have tons of money, you know, but I see this all the time. I just grew up in this world everywhere. And I was thinking of someone brought up this example. I was talking that women are looking for a high status man. That is true, but women do have an eye for potential. And so someone's telling me the story about this woman that connected herself to this artist, and the artist was poor at the time, but he became very wealthy by the end of their life. I was like, yeah, it's a standard woman. She saw he was passionate about his art. It was his passion for his art, his skill. She like loved his. He was driven. She was actually attracted to that. It's very attractive to a woman. And if a guy doesn't have an mission, it's really hard for a woman to submit herself. But a woman will submit herself to a guy without money. A lot of times, she will. She's attracted to someone that's doing something big, something worthy, right? A woman's like, she's looking for something that has a gravitational pull, that can keep her, right? So like, how does the Earth get the moon to submit to it? It's got bigger mass. It's got gravitational pull. It's what the Romans would call gravitas, right? And so women should be helpers. They should be kind. They should be beautiful. They should be delicate. They should help civilize. What do I do as a man? I go out there and I kill the enemy and I push back the thorns and thistles. And then after I push back the thorns and thistles, you come in and plant the flowers, right? I go out there, I kill the animal, bring it back. You make it into bacon. I go out there and I get flour and you make it into wheat. I give her some semen, very small amount. She makes it into a person, right? That's when women multiply. They finish. They're cultivators. And women are attracted to the Manosphere because they want to come in and help men. They want to cultivate. They want to finish something. Whether they can do it or not, that's, I guess, the debate here, right? But that's the sort of femininity that I think we should be looking for. Women should flow, like the wind, right? Like long hair, flowing dress. There should be grace to them. And sadly, you don't see much of that anymore.
Dude, that was like beautiful. The most eloquent, savage dissertation I've ever heard. Literally.
Sorry.
That was just so good. And my attention span is short, but I was like kind of stuck at every word. Let me tell everybody kind of what I got from that is that I think in these spaces, again, we're talking about women, but I think a lot of men need to be accountable too. And that's kind of what I pulled from that, like be accountable. A woman, it will follow a man who is accountable for his actions, his deeds, and things that he's done. So that's kind of what I personally pulled from what you had said. And in these spaces, do we need anybody to hold us accountable? Do we need women especially to hold us accountable? And I'm going to say hell no to that one. Like, no way. I don't need any woman to hold me accountable. So again, the topic is women in the manosphere, but accountability as a man to me is one of the most important things that you can do. And that's kind of what I got from what you were saying. Pat, I don't know if you want to bounce off Michael Foster on that.
Yeah. I mean, well, what you were saying about accountability, I think is really important. And, when it comes to this whole simping thing and guys maybe looking to women to lead them, I think that a lot of the accountability comes from other men calling out when guys are really going too far down that path and calling out the weakness. I mean, you don't really hear as much of it anymore, which I think is a good thing. But I think it's good to have, when Michael Foster, when we call guys in the red pill or the black pill or the manosphere retarded, and we make fun of them. I think it's good. I want to make fun of them more because a lot of them need to hear it. They need to hear it from other guys. They need to stop being coddled. And if their response to this is to go run to some sort of female content creator who's going to make them feel better about themselves, then it's being revealed in real time. Men always policed other men and women always policed other women.
Exactly.
That's how it's been. And that's
exactly
what worked. And what broke down, and I think, Amanda, this is a lot of what you do.
Yeah.
That women stop policing. I don't know, like women stop policing younger women. They started, and that's when you start to get this feral stuff, and guys almost don't know how to deal with it.
Exactly. Well, Pat, it's worse than that. They started reinforcing and rewarding the worst behavior that women have. And I go back to the psychology field and feminism, like the lie of feminism, because it's like the psychology professionals are in every like every sector of our society. Like they've attached themselves everywhere because they're so concerned with culture and environment and the feelings of everything, but they coddle women. Like men have a habit of doing it too. Like I get frustrated with men because I'm like, okay, I don't deal with men. It's up to the men to sort men out. My lane is women, like sorting women out, holding women accountable. I'm like, and men will argue with me that I'm too harsh on women. I'm like, they are literally trying to, they're literally abusing you. Like, you don't see this thing that's going on around you that, you know, in a couple weeks down the line is going to hit you pretty hard because men don't understand female, like, competition. Like a lot of, yeah, well, and a lot of these feminists, like their main goal, they hate men so much they want to destroy them. So you take your competent man that's in a corporation, and there's a bunch of feminist sharks circling the water, just waiting to, you know, dethrone them and take their jobs. Like, I don't know. That's kind of my biggest frustration with men is like they don't treat these super predators with, I mean, they just treat them with more dignity and respect than they actually deserve.
Yeah, I think it's difficult for guys to break that programming, especially because it's not even about the woman, a man dealing with the woman himself. It's about if he does that, then other men, not simply even other women who jump to her defense, other men will jump to her defense. And so any guy, this is the issue with like the sort of simp phenomenon, is that there's an instinct for guys to always protect a woman against another man, even if the woman's in the wrong.
Right.
And you know,
but something that I've run into that's unreal, and I still don't get it. There's men that are protecting women against me, which I don't understand, because historically, like, men would protect a woman against a man, or they would protect a child against a woman. But two women, like getting in between two women, like sorting each other out, like that's weird to me.
I can take a venture at it, and I think it's probably because they know that, like, they view the other woman as the victim because she's not as strong. And so they see this woman, she's going to cry, she's going to get so upset, and they have this instinct to go and be there rather than allow her. You know, I don't think that men, like, I'm curious to hear what Michael thinks about this, and I'm not trying to make it fully black and white, but there's this image that gets created of like the father being super, you know, disciplinarian on the daughter and everything. And I don't know, I try to go back beyond the 1950s. Like I go back to like the 1800s. And if, let's say, your daughter had a liaison with a guy that she shouldn't have, well, the mother and the grandmother were tearing into the daughter. And the father and the brothers were going after the guy who did it. The father was maybe ashamed, but the women were supposed to be doing the disciplining on that, and the father's focus was on the guy who took his daughter's honor. And we need to kind of shift much more back into that stuff. Like, you stay in your lane. If she's gonna chew out that woman, I'm like, I'm gonna get the popcorn, you know.
Yeah. That's what the majority of men do. There's only a small number, and I've learned, because going back to they're going to cry, they're going to be seen as a victim. These predators play that card to enact a man's protection mode. They do that on purpose.
Exactly.
And in a lot that I've found out, because we have a lot of fear, a lot of group identities, a lot of fear mongering that goes on. It happens quite a bit in the Black community. Like they'll use the racism thing. This crazy woman over here will be like, oh, she's racist, go get her, you know. And it's like, really, you're gonna prey on that fear?
Isn't that like, that's always a last resort, because I've had that happen to me recently, like racist, anti-Semite, blah blah blah.
Doesn't have a lot of juice in it.
Like you lost, so that's all.
But it's a deep-seated pre-existing fear that man has, that they grew up with in an environment that they were told by first their mothers that white people are blah blah blah. Like they find those vulnerabilities and those ways to get in there to then puppet these guys in any certain direction.
The good news is I do think that is so much less powerful than it was 5 years ago. Yeah. I mean, I think within 5 years it will be. I actually think it will be deconstructed within 5 years.
You think that there's more? I'm sorry. You think that there's more men paying attention to the manipulation tactics that women use in calling
100%, 100%. But I mean it even almost more generally, like, because it's a lot of the left's political manipulation is very much styled on feminine kind of manipulation,
right?
Because it's designed to keep men from responding,
make them weaker and everything, right?
So I think they've overdone it, and so as a result, like we're starting to go through a deprogramming by or desensitization to that kind of stuff. So when someone calls you racist, or someone calls you anti-Semite, or someone calls you sexist, like it's increasingly means less and less to guys.
So I think,
I think it increasingly, and part of that is because the groups that are victimized increasingly don't even identify with being victimized,
right?
And so
that's
it's really falling apart across the board.
Yeah.
Right. So to a certain extent, though, and I'm only saying this because it's something I'm experiencing. It's what I found is, and I've been saying it, that the left went so far that everyone's going to be just, I don't even care about politically correct at this point, right?
Right.
The issue is when you're specifically talking, you're talking about leftist movement. I'm talking about men being able to see a woman cry after she's manipulated everybody and to pinpoint, oh, that's manipulation.
Right.
I don't think I have to disagree with that because I've seen it. I've been called.
We're not there yet.
Yeah, that's the issue. Because I've been called let me rephrase this. I call out stupidity when I see it. If you're a dating coach and you Photoshop all your pictures and you don't look the same, and you're telling other men to do the same thing, which, as we just have been talking about, comes with a lot of potential repercussions, I'm going to call it stupid. I'm going to call it is what it is, right? In those situations, I get called me too, meaning like I'm accusing a man of being predatory and all these things. I've been accused of it probably about 5 times now, each time clarified that I never did that. But it's always from another woman that's crying, another woman that's been called out, another woman that's been, and that's the part where it's like the specific question was, do men see this? And I don't think that they do.
I think, I mean, if you're talking about the general population, we have a long way to go. But if you're talking about like trajectory, it's definitely improved. Like I can even just see there's a lot of stuff going on recently with, girl in the gym who's, trying to do a squat and she's like, I've seen that stuff going on for years. And I remember like a few years ago, it was like everybody was on the back foot. Oh crap, we have to be sensitive to this. She did this time. Everyone's like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Well, and that goes.
So there's progress. There's progress being made because it's so transparent. I mean, you have literal prostitutes complaining about guys objectifying them.
Right. Right.
They took it too far, and the veil is being lifted. There's a lot of work to do. Don't get me wrong, Minka. There's a lot of work to do, but I like where we are right now much better than I do where we were a few years ago.
I could see that.
I want to welcome Woody Johnson. Woody, long time. Good to have you on.
Hey, Woody.
Hey, good evening, everybody.
Are you enjoying the conversation discourse so far? I'm curious.
Definitely. It's a great convo. People from a lot of different backgrounds and experience, talking, and you got to show up to Tony's legendary comebacks. After nice long Floridian slow breaks, as you would say. But yeah, I'm definitely enjoying it. I'm just sorry for being late. I'm like one of those people that end up kind of showing late. I'm on white people time. Show up late.
I want to real quick. I want to recognize the chat because I've been especially over the past hour. I've been looking at the chat, and I appreciate the kind of the pushback, and I saw a little we'll say discourse with Michael Foster and somebody, but I appreciate you guys like speaking up in the chat. I'm not big on blocking people. I'll block somebody if it's just total bullshit. But as far as like the conversation in the chat, it's been interesting to me for sure, you know. And I like to see like men not being afraid to say, okay, I disagree with you on this, or but I'm really enjoying the chat. I think it's really, really it's engaging tonight, and I like the fact that the chat can engage with whether it's, you know, Michael Foster on the panel or somebody else. So, but I did want to recognize everybody that's there. So, but oh, welcome, Caduceus, vital message in the chat, man. Good to see you, my brother. Good to see you. So, but we're not going to go that much longer. But I do want to go to Woody. Woody, what is your take on? Because Woody's kind of a fixture in the Manosphere. I know Woody's a fixture on Good Mother Stream and many other streams, and been on here a million times. You guys are all familiar with him. So, what's your take on women in the Manosphere? And I'll look at Woody is not a content creator. He's more of a content participator, we'll call him. So, Woody, what's your take on the topic tonight? Just straight up, women in the Manosphere.
Okay, I'll keep it nice, short, and sweet. You know, it is it is a factor, you know, and we can't really stop that from happening. It's there regardless. You know, the growth is there, especially for female content creators. And if they can make a space and acquire so much publicity, so much attention, then I guess there hasn't people haven't I guess changed much. I would say they're still attached to their natural instincts, their lizard part of the brain, you know. And I mean, I would say it's a net positive overall because somewhat there is expansion of knowledge, you know, regardless of what it is, you know. And I mean, if you can compare, I kind of compare Good Mother on the base meter because she broke it, you know. So I don't expect anybody to uh, come close to that, you know. But aside from that, I think it's a net positive. Net positive is anything that's 50%, I guess, plus that you're gaining from that, you know. So in my opinion, it is a net positive because the word's getting out there, and that's how people slowly but maturely they find other channels, and they kind of move on from that, you know. So that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, I like that what you say. I've been saying that for a while about net positive, and I think net positive with any content creator is important. It's when you drop below that 50% barrier is when it's all negative. So net positive to me is bringing something good into, not just into, we are talking about women in the Manosphere, so we're going to talk about bringing positive content to men versus coming into this space and beating on men, especially, again, like I'll say it a million times, the base entry fee to Manosphere content is usually trauma. That might not have the way it's been years ago, but I see that's the way it is now. So net positive in any content creator is really important. So that was a really good point, Woody. I know there's a lot of, you know, when I was looking at comments when I posted this this stream on my channel and on 21 Studios, I was kind of looking at the comments in the chat to see what people were saying, and there was guys who are angry, and I can tell you that I am not going to like beat up a guy because he's angry and he's been through something. This is his way of like getting it out there. Like, fuck women right now. And every guy is entitled to that. You know what? Fuck women right now. I'm never going to take that from any guy.
Yeah.
But I did see some comments. So I don't think that's negative when a guy says that, when he's had enough. He's fucking done. He's like, right now, this is what I feel. This is what I'm going to say. Fuck it. I don't want to hear from a woman. And to me, that's okay.
And you know,
and
I would add,
that's a healthy part of repairing yourself and finding what you need to make yourself a better person. Not just a better person, but a better man. And I think that's the overall goal of Manosphere content, is to make men better men. Okay? So that's kind of my take on that. Pat or Michael Foster, I don't know if you guys want to bounce off that, or Woody.
I was going to add real quick to this that the deeper you go into, I guess, a community or I guess a group of content creators, I would say this area is specifically, there's a lot of good people that they at least portray it and go forward with being genuine, right? For example, one time, it was I guess not a debate, more of a discussion with Michael Foster. He gave me the courtesy, the time to speak about that, and he went further with that, and even, for example, Pat's open, to criticism. He got that before, on this, and he's willing to face first, dive into that, and that's what I do appreciate, that there is ideologies that can, that can have their battles online, and audience, they would choose which one is right for them, I guess. That's about it.
Okay. Yeah. Your mic is a little scratchy again, Woody. I know that you got some issues with
okay, I'll mute
or whatever, but sounds a little better now. So, but go ahead, Pat.
One of the things, just to I think it's important to reiterate it. I mean, the Manosphere is ultimately, and you can quibble about what exact sections in the Manosphere if you want to, but ultimately this is a fight against, this is where like the counterculture, the real counterculture exists.
Yeah.
And so we talk about like it's the Manosphere, but really what it is society, like the potential vision of society, not completely coalesced yet necessarily. I mean, I do think that we have moved much more from what I would call more like salon culture, pre-revolution salon culture, to like much more, okay, what are you going to do? You can actually do something? Like, are you just going to talk about theory? Because now it's really about embodying it, living it, acting it in, political, cultural life, this different way of being. So we call it the Manosphere now, but I think it's important to remember, ultimately, as an end goal, this should be about changing society altogether. And so when we change society altogether, what we're looking at now is not like a space just for men. It is a new social structure. And so I want to say that, and I also want to just add that there is always going to be male spaces within the broader Manosphere. There's always going to be individuals like, myself who only work with men, have like men only chats. And I think if guys are like, it's important for us to educate and when necessary, shame men if they are, losing their way and getting pulled into some grifter scheme, right? That's just the open forum, though. There's going to be free discussion about that. Men should be trying to get into close communities with other men and talking to other men and working through problems on a private basis. I think if you consider the, male space, some chat room, some public chat room on the internet, like, you got to step it up to the next level. You got to start to form communications with people, ideally in real life, but at the very least in private communication, where you can start to work through things. Otherwise, you're not actually trying to change. You're just venting on the internet, and probably shouldn't be complaining about the fact that there's women who maybe dip in from time to time, like being pissed off that someone's on the sidewalk. So anyway, that's my take.
Yeah. We're going to start wrapping it up. I have to work tomorrow, but I think it's been awesome. I think I appreciate my my main guest, Pat Stedman. Pat, it's always a pleasure chatting with you, man. Always great takes and insight on a lot of different topics. We're not always talking about dating and relationships. I think there's other important topics that we need to touch on. I want to thank Amanda and Minka tonight for coming on and jumping into the Manosphere again on my channel and 21 Studios. And hopefully you guys get some subscribers and guys that will come to your channel and kind of maybe look at what you're offering. Okay, I think that's important. But I do want to go around the panel here real quick before we end, and I want to start with Woody. Let's start with Woody Johnson. Woody.
As always, appreciate everybody. This is the giving space. All the love you can get, and this is, I guess, more like a rare, more corner of the of this community, But nonetheless, I think it's one of the best part of it.
Awesome, thanks. I will go to Amanda next. Good mother, and go ahead and let everybody know your channel and how they can find you. That's real important.
It's just, I think it's under GM currently. But
yeah.
It'll still pop up if you type in good mother.
I have links in the description of the video for my channel and for Minka's channel and Pat's channel.
If anybody has a university story that they would like to share, there's a lot of people that come to my channel just to kind of offload. I've had quite a few women that currently work at institutions kind of come on there and share their story. Of course, they're behind avatars because a lot of these people don't. They have their livelihood at stake. But if anybody wants to share anything about that, they're more than welcome. Thanks for having me, Tony. Pat, it was good to talk to you. Minka, nice chatting. Michael Foster, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for coming on tonight.
Woody.
I'm going to go. Always Woody.
Always Woody.
We had an argument about this when I met Amanda at 21. I'm like, hey, wait, Woody's my guy. She's like,
I was like, no, he's my guy.
But
I'm everybody's guy.
Welcome, man. Always, either Woody's dropping some valuable nuggets or he's stirring that pot, man.
Well, he contributes a lot to conversations. And that's good stuff.
Always love having Woody on. That's why I sent him the link. I'm like, we got to have Woody Johnson on here. But let's go to Michael Foster next. Michael Foster, any final words on tonight's stream and women in the manosphere?
I think the world needs men. I think the world needs women. I think men are terrible at being mothers and wives, and women are terrible at being husbands and fathers. and it feels stupid saying these basic things, but that's the time we live in. And my wife brings so much to my boys and to my girls. And I think if this is a place that guys can interface with women that are relatively normal, it might be good for them. I hear the way guys talk about women. I'm like, do you know women? like all women are like that. That's, the AWOL thing. And I'm like, hey, you guys are living in a corner, man. You need to get out a little bit more. And so I can see a way it could go good. I think it's kind of hard not to get too cynical in this space, right? Just because of the constant monetization, constant use of people. I'm really uptight about that, personally. But I think I like what Pat's saying is that it starts with the men. As the men go, so goes the household. As the household goes, so goes society, right? And I think maybe it makes sense that men led the way into the manosphere, and really now it's going to be about recapturing relationships and family and in the right way people should interact. And so maybe it's natural that the women came second, right? And the men were here first, and there could be some deeper conversations. I'd like to see a lot of people start getting married. I'm not MGTOW at all. I want everyone to get married. I want stable families. I want children with moms and dads. I think it's the only way out of this. People can see you got to change the law first. That's going to take a generation or two. It's going to take more than one. And so you have to have someone to take up your cause. And so guys having an idea of what a normal woman's like, and you'll hear guys say like, women are like this. You're like, no, they're not. Like you spend too much time online. So I don't know. I can see it be a positive thing. And if they have poise and femininity, it certainly be a good thing. So there you go.
Michael Foster, it's always a pleasure having you on. You're a good friend of mine.
Appreciate it.
I always appreciate and value your time when you spend with us here. It's always super valuable. And I know you're busy with business and family, but the fact that you take time to come on here and talk with us, it's to me, it's you can't put a price on that. But I appreciate you.
This is the bleeding edge, man. This is the tip of the spear.
Good seeing you, Foster.
Yeah, thank you, Woody. Likewise.
Let's go to to Minka, and your final thoughts on tonight's stream and how people can find you, of course.
I really appreciate you having the stream and having us on. It's obviously not taken lightly. I think I can say for Good Mother and I both, it's really appreciated. And I think I've heard a lot of the things that I've been saying that I agree with, like the fact that like I think it's like a huge ploy that has brainwashed women to believe that we're victims and make women like men and make men weaker so that they can't fight against the totalitarianism, thing. And it's I'm just going to leave it there. If you want to come to my channel, we talk to men to hear the stories about the men and what they've gone through that brought them to the Manosphere. And we also have discussions with women to try and translate what's being said so that they can hear it in a nicer tone. My hope is that more women and men will talk to each other, because I really think it's just a big, huge confusion ball. And I think that I still have a belief that women inherently still do want to get married and have kids, just because I'm a woman and I talk to women. I've talked to the ones that are the most proud of being escorts and all of that stuff, and they still will cry at night alone. So I really have a fundamental belief that like women do want men, and I do believe men want women. It's just the insanity and the repercussions that people have dealt with that are terrifying. So,
all right. Well, I'm, you know what? That's kind of the first time I heard your mission on your channel.
So, really? Sorry.
Yeah, like
my face.
I'll just say explained like that. So,
it's really hard for me to explain.
I do think it's important that you do. Let's put it this way. I haven't heard you say like how you want to reach out to women and explain what men are saying. So I think that's, I'm hoping that's a real positive influence on your channel and an influence that you're giving to other women.
It is. It's, I can tell you this is that, I'm not having I'm not doing Fresh and Fit. I'm not doing any of that stuff. I'm looking for women that I can talk to. There's a lot of women that will want to, and they're going to be crazy and ignorant and
cowards.
Not just cowards. It's just really crazy and ignorant. They really believe the crazy things that they're saying. I'm not looking for those. It's just, I don't know what life and God has in store for you, but you'll figure it out.
You get to the point too, where sometimes you just got to give last rites to the dying, and that's it, and walk away.
No, I'm a female. I'll never give up. We'll remember everything.
Yeah. But sometimes there's just certain people you can't help, and you have to.
Right. And that's what I mean.
And that's okay.
And that it is okay.
And it's not.
Sometimes the best way to help them is actually to cut them off.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I mean. Okay, so let me backtrack here, right? So when I came into this space, the biggest issue that I see some women doing, not Good Mother, not myself, is they come in and they say, these men are mean to me. They need to change. They need to be different. They need to stop talking this way. And my rebuttal is like, this is their space. That's number one. And number two, it's the Manosphere. Look at how they talk to each other. It's not very nice. They are being nice to us when we come here, but still apprehensive, and rightfully so, because of what it stands for. It is in fact to talk to women, because Good Mother is actually the reason that I came up with, okay, this is what I'm doing. Because when we talked about it, the feminist movement was all about, if you control the women, you control the narrative. And they knew that. So they went in there and they were able to control the narrative. And that's where we are now. We have been applauding the most incomprehensible, demoralizing behavior that women have displayed publicly and clapping for it, saying that's an independent female, she doesn't care, blah, 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 right? My issue with that is that the 18-year-olds that are just graduating high school think that it's okay to do OnlyFans, that it's not considered porn, because they saw 1 out of 100 girls get married to a guy that's simping for her. Right. And they think that is the reality, and that's the general truth of what happens, when really it's 1 out of 100 girls. And the rest of the 99 women aren't being pursued in that manner because there are repercussions. Most men would not be okay with a woman that's been on camera doing things with other men. You know what I mean? It's kind of weird. Just as a woman, hopefully, if you do love yourself and you are a good woman, you would not want a man that has been with half of the city. It's just not something that you'd want to touch. Right. there's the comment, there's I like to call it just like, I'm looking for the reasonability. If there's a woman, like I said, the girl that had a lot of an attitude issue, but she wants love, I want to talk to her. If it's a woman that is super like victim mentality but wants love, I want to talk to her. Any woman that wants love and marriage, I want to talk to them, because those are the ones I can talk to, that I can change the wording, I can make it nicer, and they understand and they're wanting it. And that's Michael, I actually really thank you for saying that, because I've said it many times and men don't believe it. They think that women only want the 6 foot tall, lots of money, all of that. And they don't realize that most women, we've been brainwashed to believe that's what we should be attaining. Most women, if you catch them in their younger years and they see a man that's going even young, any woman at any age, if she sees a man that's on a mission, whatever that mission is, if it's good or bad, whatever, she's going to be attracted to that. That is a man with a purpose. That is a man a woman can follow. That is a man that, like, he'll be broke and she'll try and help. Like, these stories are very, very real, and a lot of men don't believe it. That's why I like the Manosphere, because men are telling men to man up, and it makes it, number one, you didn't ask the most important question. Why are the women here? You guys made assumptions, but you didn't actually ask. And I can tell you, one is, it's made me a better woman. Aside from all the trolling and all the other stuff, I have never been as feminine as I am in my life today. I've never been so agreeable with men. I've never been so understanding. I've never been able to understand I want to be someone's piece. There's a lot of things, how I treat myself has changed. It's fascinating. That's number one. And number two is, I want my offspring to have a better world. The world that we have today is crap, and I'm a part of the problem, because that's my generation that did it. So now that's what my podcast is for. I want to
Do you have children?
No, I don't have any children at all.
Gotcha.
And I've never been married. But I am 31, so I'm at the wall, I think.
Well,
really?
I appreciate you coming on and talking, and I hope that your we'll just say your heart is in the right place when it comes to helping. To me, like, I'll give a quick take on women in the Manosphere. Women in the Manosphere most times should be worrying about helping women, not men, period. That's kind of my quick hot take on that. So, but how can everybody find you?
Oh, my channel, some garbage at this. My channel is called Better Biatches. You can also call me BB for appropriate, if you don't feel comfortable. But it was actually kind of fun too, because there's a lot of men that are angry, and I kind of noticed that it like calmed them down. They're like, who is this BB? Sorry, I talk a lot.
And I do have the link for your channel in the description of the video on my channel and on 21 Studio. So if people want to find you, they can find you there. Same thing with Amanda and same thing with Pat. So, but I'll go to Pat, the guest of honor tonight, and special guest. Any final thoughts on tonight's stream and Women in the Manosphere? You had some great dialogue during this whole stream, Pat. So
it's been a good conversation. But what I would say to guys is that I know a lot of you are in pain. I mean, so much of the substrate of the Manosphere is men in pain, right? And I know that a lot of guys take issues in particular with things that I say, because I can come across as maybe uncaring or unsympathetic, or, you know, maybe even a collaborator. I don't know, in some cases, which is not true. But what I want is for you to think about what pain means. When you're in pain, it's because something's not functioning properly. If your leg's broken, you can get pissed off at the sidewalk when you step on, when you try to walk on a broken leg, you can get pissed off at the sidewalk because that puts pressure on the brake. Or you can fix the broken leg so you can walk on it again. And I think that there's the point of all of this stuff is not about ultimately male only spaces or ultimately female only spaces. The point of this is to make a better society. those are means to an end. They're things that should exist in a healthy society, but they're ultimately means to an end. And we have to keep our focus on that. You have pain, heal yourself, and then be part of the solution. See what you can build, see what you can carry, see how you can contribute. Things are changing, and part of growth and part of maturity is being able to evolve with them. The Manosphere has been evolving as time's gone on, as the cultural apparatus around it has changed. And I'll be honest, I view this as kind of like wartime footing right now. And we don't have time anymore for guys who can't figure out how to heal themselves and be part of the solution. We just don't have time for it. And that's not because the pain isn't real. It's just because we got heavy lifting to do. And we need all the legs we can carry, all the legs we have to carry it. So I encourage guys to get in the fight and to focus on the big picture here. Women aren't the enemy. Women were sold a bill of goods too. And I think, you know, Amanda, Minka have really hopefully done a good job, even if you don't agree with everything, right? They've done a good job at least of showing that their heart's in the right place, that we are trying to work on this as a team together ultimately. So I think we'll get there.
Excellent, Pat. Excellent take. Awesome panel tonight. Thank you guys for jumping on. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Minka. Thank you, Michael Foster, jumping on. Amanda and Woody Johnson, of course. But great stream tonight. Good conversation. And I think there's going to be more to this conversation. I really do. I think this. I think there could be a part 2 to this, and we might have to do that sometime soon. But I want to thank everybody from 21 Studios joining us tonight. Again, I'm Tony Bruno. If you don't know me, I'm just a construction guy that likes to have conversations. That's it. That's all I do. So, but I do appreciate everybody that came to my channel tonight. It's been a while. I'll continue to do some more streams. Hopefully, like I said, haven't talked to him yet, but Jeff Younger, you're going to be in the queue. Also, Dr. Shawn Smith. I know I want to have him on soon. Always a great guest. But I do want to hopefully provide some value to men and women. And that's kind of my mission. I don't make any money off this. I do this because I want to, and to have good conversations with different people. You might not like the people on my panel sometimes or like what they have to say, but that's a part of it. You know, if you're a man, deal with it. That's all I got to say. But I do appreciate everybody coming on tonight. And I'll see you soon on the next reality check, Thursday night reality check. Peace. Cheers, everybody. And have a great evening. And thank you for joining us.
Good night.
Night.